Gangs. 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 Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sam, and this is the Sam Daily Show. Tonight, I'm excited because we've got some Joshes in the house. We've got one Josh that I met in a coffee shop. He is communist or an anarchist. One of the two. Both?
Both.
Both.
Both. Hi. Both. I'm hungover today.
He's very hungover. What about you, Max? What do you think of today? Huh?
It's been great today. We've been grinding.
That's right. And then we also have somebody else who's very special. Another Josh. His name, I call him MO RINO Josh. He's a good friend of mine. He's a really good guy. I enjoy hanging out with him and being a part of the politic thing. We went to a GOP meeting, and please excuse what's going on behind me. We've had some interns that have broken into the building. They've been doing some really strange things. It's okay, though. But MO RINO Josh, good friend of mine. Who is he? What does he do?
He is...
Other than hiding behind the microphone.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You taught me better. I'm a middle-aged conservative man, and I feel ashamed to say the middle-aged part. I'm just somebody who realized you had to get involved, and I think I hit a niche with the media in the sense that accountability is my focus for our own party instead of going after Democrats or anarchists or communists. I take it back, go after communists, not anarchists though. But just somebody that is proud to be here in this state, this nation, and at the same time for such a time as this. I'm excited and really interested to see how tonight goes with all you incredible young men.
He's looking around the studio because this was his first time being in the studio. The last time he was in the studio, we were at another location. It's changed. We've got some different lighting. It's a little bit more space.
And I can't see you now. And because I can't see you, that's strange.
And I'm just a little voice in your head that just goes. So yeah, that's a better reaction to that.
That's me. I'm the dude that got involved. I mean, to be honest, that's it.
Great. Well, we have him here and Anarcho Josh. Later on, we're going to get into a little bit of maybe a debate. Anarcho Josh is feeling a little bit under the weather. However, I think he's still going to bring his A game. We look forward to that. Did we also mention we have British Max?
Yes, we did.
We forgot somebody.
Oh, we forgot you, Owen. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, Owen is somebody who came here to the studio. He has been involved with this not more than British Max, but second tier. He is absolutely involved writing scripts. He's learning the ropes, okay? And I don't think he's ever been in front of a camera, but then he hosted the show 2 nights ago, and he absolutely killed it. Is that right? 2 nights ago?
I can't speak to the killed it part, but it would have been yesterday, right?
Yeah, and Monday.
Yes.
2 nights ago, huh?
You'll also have to be patient with me because I'm also running a switchboard, so if I switch it to somebody who isn't speaking, that's not my fault. That's Nick's fault. That's one of our interns. He can jump in the shot right now without the Biden mask. What's that? Yeah, there he is. Right there. Cool. He'll be running the audio on the side, helping out there. Anywho, so we are tonight talking about local politics as well. I think Max, did we mention in another episode where we actually went to our first GOP meeting?
We did.
Yeah.
Should we recap that now?
Oh, real quick, can I give a shout out to one of my partners in crime, William Wymore, aka William Jr. He is my meme man for all the stuff that we do. Whenever we bring people down and expose them, he's the one who makes the meme magic. Okay, sorry, he's watching right now. That's why.
Awesome. Are any of the GOP party chaps watching?
I sent it out to a lot of people, so it's very possible that we at least have one more than him.
Awesome. So we joined you the day before election day.
Yes, you did.
We found it incredibly interesting because we were hoping for young blood and high energy, and it was a good meeting. It was good to see it turn out. We love our boomers. However, we were hoping that we would find more like-minded individuals kind of around our age there, and it was quite upsetting we didn't. And that was kind of when the penny dropped and we realized maybe this is a lot of the reason that we're in the situation that we're in, because people our age are not taking this seriously. So we feel that it is an obligation really now to get involved with these kind of meetings, get involved with the local GOP party, and change the narrative really in our favour, because there is a massive split between establishment GOP and what they think and what they want, and then what we as the younger generation of Zoomers want.
Well, it's interesting. It's not really just the younger generation of Zoomers, and don't make the mistake of blanketing all of that age group, because there's some incredible individuals who have been fighting that fight for a long time, and to be honest, those are probably the ones who we owe the most to, because they're the reason why it hasn't gone over the cliff. And I'm glad that you guys saw that, because when I started going there, I was the youngest. I think I still am. And you know, I'm 36, and I think I'm the youngest probably by 10 years. For the most part. And they were really excited to see when me and my buddy Kyle and Brett actually got involved. And we've kind of pushed it continually forward. It was this weird kind of coalescing, though, of all these people who watch Bannon's War Room. And, you know, I'd never heard about the committee before. I didn't even know it existed, because by design, right, through the long march through the institutions by Antonio Gramsci and Lukács and all these other neo-Marxists who came over, they made sure that we were uneducated in our rights, because if we knew our rights, we could stand on them. And so Thomas Jefferson said that the committees or the townships, it depends on where you're at, the naming convention, right? But it's all the same thing. It's a group of people who represent a people in a smaller subsection. And he said that's one of the most surefire ways to govern or defend against tyranny, because you have all of these little cells, right, all over the place governing their area. And then when you understand the power of a local government, the mayor, the sheriff, you know, the sheriff can muster a posse if he wanted to. He's a last line of defense for his people. And what they've done is they've had us so focused on the federal level and the presidency.
Wait, correct me if I'm wrong, but the sheriff is the one that is, they can actually line everybody up. Is that true?
What do you mean line everybody up?
It's just, they can line everybody up, you know, and...
Okay, I forgot about his inserts. So the sheriff being the local level, meaning that you have that you have a mechanism, and we've not been taught how to use said mechanism. And it's the political mechanism, it's the governmental mechanism, but we've been focused on the elections, right? And then we don't understand what's happening on the local level. Well, what COVID taught us, and what was actually a blessing in disguise, if there was one, was the fact that we're worried about the presidency, and the real power is in the health board on the local level, right? Or, you know, the county level, the specific city level. There's all kinds of different elements to the way our government can work, and the areas that directly affect us are the ones that we have been trained not to think about.
See, I always thought that it was all, your head's in the shot, Nick. I always thought it was all about who was the president of the United States. I thought that for any kind of change to happen societally, that it all depends on who the big man in the white Oval Office is, and that's not the case.
Nope.
Is that what you're saying?
So what is the preamble, or was it the preamble? It's the Declaration itself.
Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
So the idea is what? Of the people, for the people, by the people. A government that is of, for, and by. So that statement alone should have been enough for us to logically understand the difference, but that conditioning has continued to happen for a very long time. And so we look at the upper echelon, and there's a really good understanding about the way Trump did things in the COVID pandemic compared to the way that Biden did, right? Trump did 0 lockdowns, right? Because it was, the authority is on the local level. And he didn't do it because that was a good guy stance to do. He did it because that was the law, right? And then what happened when Biden tried to enforce the lockdowns? Everything fell, because it wasn't constitutional. It wasn't legal. And so then that gave us another reference point. Okay, when Trump was in office, he didn't do anything to us, right? But our local government was tyrannical, and we had to figure out how to fight there and where the enemy could be. And then when Biden gets in, he tries to be tyrannical, and then we realize our laws block him from doing that. So we learn where to pay attention and how to battle based off of that. And we learn things about, you know, the word mandate. It's not a legal term that says you have to do it. If you look at Black's Law and you look at the word mandate, it's actually an agreement that only becomes enforceable when you agree to it, right? And so you have the right to stand on your principles or on the laws that have been given to you. And if you don't know how to enforce those things, or you don't know where to go, or you don't know who's making these decisions, you know, for the first time in my entire life, I realized you could go to the school board and speak, or you could go to the health board and speak.
And that was actually the first place that I think I met you, was through the health board. I'm not sure. I remember seeing your bald head at one point.
I know. So it's probably Jay Richmond who was up there fighting that good fight. But no, I actually have never gone to the health board or the school boards, because being that my kids are homeschooled, I didn't have a direct understanding of what was happening in the schools. Now, if my kids would have been a part of that, I would have pulled them out. I wouldn't even play the games. But I got involved with the DHSS director, so the Department of Health and Senior Services, DHSS, and it's basically the public health. And our governor was trying to. He had appointed this guy as an acting director, right? And then you have to go through a confirmation process where Senate takes you through a hearing, and it's the advice and consent of the Senate. So that gives the people a voice too. So that's balance, right? Checks and balances. And thank God for that, because we were actually able to defeat Cowroff's appointment because we had a senator that stood in the gap, and then there were grassroots citizens sending information. So the same way you guys research to do your shows and different things like that, you can actually take that mechanism and actually help elected officials fight and your cause, because they actually source their information from not just their staff but the people themselves. But we've been taught to stay out of all of that. So I got involved there and saw that whole debacle that was happening with this Cowroff guy, and it's a thing that would take a long time to discuss, but basically they were trying to bring in somebody that was a big fan of health passports, right? Which is a very dangerous mechanism that ends up into social credit score and then, complete tyranny, overall control. But we realized we could defeat them from our phones. We didn't even have to go there. We were putting research out, and if we had an ally in the Senate, we had an in, and we defeated this guy, and he got a lifetime ban from that position, which is incredible, right?
What I would say is that there's three main institutions, right? You have the media, you've got the academics, and then academics, media. Help me out on what's the third big one? Entertainment. That's right. Yep. Lizzo and Cardi B and all that, right? And so Josh has been one of those guys who has been really involved in the political institution, right? And did I even mention that? Is that would be that fourth hanger right there? I don't know. I'm always thinking about who is the most influential as far as that. I mean, media, entertainment. We know that just absolutely brainwashes every child, every music video that drops, and then academics. We know how. I don't know, Josh. Are you going to be sending your kids to college?
No, probably not. I want them to get a trade so they can learn how to fend for themselves, because I have a buddy who can go out right now. He lost his job. He can go out and he's got all the tools he needs, and he can literally go make a few $1,000s in a few days because he has a trade. You know what I mean? And that's freedom. If they want to go to school after that or do something that actually requires a degree, that's fine. But I mean, I've seen how degrees become less and less consequential over time. Unless you're going to be specifically a doctor in medical school or a lawyer where you have to study law, that
academics are absolute bunk.
Right. Well, it's institutionalized thought process, right? It's just indoctrination. The Princeton started as a log cabin college, right? And he taught them all the basic fundamental principles, finance and law and biology and the Word of God. And then that place that they used to make fun of and call the log cabin is now known as Princeton. And if you follow the guy, I forget his name who founded it, but if you follow his lineage, man, this guy's got judges, Supreme Court justices, senators, vice presidents, all these amazing people that came out of his lineage because he set the precedence of how education should be done. So education in and of itself is a wonderful thing, and I'm resentful, if you will, that I didn't get a good education because of what it could have been. I wish I could have studied Latin, and I wish I could have studied Greek and all the ancient poets and everything else like that, so I could better understand history and what reality is instead of being spoon-fed things. And when a college or a school gives you a test and the dynamics are basically show your work the way that we say your work has to be shown, and then remember the answers, then you've created blinders on thought. And I've heard somebody actually argue it that it's thought, it's memorization of facts versus knowledge generation. You're supposed to be teaching people how to learn, how to teach themselves, how to grow, how to understand, how to contemplate. We don't have dialogue anymore. We can't have good conversations. Everything is emotionally driven, right? No one knows what a fact is. right? Or how to make something subjective, or see if something's subjective or objective.
Well, you're sitting around a circle of guys who really don't care about facts, but that's a whole nother thing. But listen, Josh, you can still go back to school. In fact, we'll support you going to school. That's right. For a low price of $20 a month, you put it into locals. locals.samdailyshow.com. You can support us. We've got the soap. Do we have the soap? Where's the soap?
It's on the desk somewhere.
I'm worried I'm going to get hit in the head with some soap.
It's really
There's soap. Owen's holding up
You
the
gonna
soap.
hold it up or belt it at you?
No, just belt it. No. I mean, like, belt it into the microphone what the soap is.
It's goat milk soap.
Is it goat milk soap?
I don't know.
This is the best soap ever made. I wash my testicles with this soap, and they're not even that smelly. I have it on good authority. So I highly recommend Sam Daily Show soap.
So for anybody who's listening in for the invites that I've given, they're going to be like, what did I just step into?
That's true.
But what I think is really important, that anybody listening who wouldn't normally listen if it wasn't for an invite from my generation, is that this is still the future.
For better or worse.
Truly, and we have, like, these type of dialogues are incredibly important, because how are we going to bring everybody together, right? We should all be able to sit down at the same table when it comes to deciding what our future will be, or how we regulate our society, how we govern ourselves, right? We can't leave each other out. And I think it's important. I think that's one of the things the GOP really has a problem with, is they're very introvert, right? Like,
exclusionary.
I've heard some things. I've heard some things that I don't agree with at all, and I think we would probably get along on a bunch of these things where, they'll talk about, gerrymandering their districts or redo. Well, I don't want to represent. Right. Well, I don't want to represent. Those people aren't what I represent. Well, what would be crazy to me is if they were of the public, or if they were of the thought process that maybe I can go out and find out what these people need and I can represent them. Right? Instead of, they're not my ilk, right? They're not my type of people.
Basically,
they're not my demographic.
If they're going to be in my map, I'm not going to get the votes that I need to keep my job.
Right. Because they're not willing to go and earn the hearts and minds of the people.
Right. Which makes them dictators.
Right. Well, not really dictators. They're just selfish idiots. Like, they're not working. They're lazy.
Yeah.
They're lazy and they don't want to go out and do it. Now, this isn't the whole GOP, right? But this is just being introspective to my own party, that there's a lot of. It was so easy before for them to win and to control. I'm talking a Democrat and Republican. I believe in the uniparty, right? So I'm an actual conservative. I'm an actual Republican because of the principles of the Republican Party. That's why I chose it. Not because I like elephants better or the color red, right? Or because I, quote unquote, hate Clinton or Obama, which I do, but not because they're Democrats. It's the same reason I hate George Bush and George Bush Sr. and all of those uniparty globalist jackasses who have literally lulled us to sleep by pointing back and forth at each other so that we would argue with each other and they could continue to do their bullshit.
I'm sorry, it sounds like you left out DeSantis.
We don't know about DeSantis yet. No, truly, we don't know about DeSantis yet.
Another fun thing we agree on, though, is that, they're definitely, like, just one capitalist party that, like, wants us to fucking be divided.
Well, and but what's funny is it's crony capitalism on its way.
Crony capitalism.
I mean, it is.
Yeah.
Because capitalism is a principle. Well, it is. It's a principle, and it's a very simple principle. If you provide value, someone will pay for it. That's it. That is capitalism. Now, when you add all the bullshit to it, that's when it becomes something manipulated.
What do you think about the idea that capitalism doesn't, the theory of capitalism doesn't extend adequately into the technological sphere?
Holy shit.
Where, I mean, in the real world, a lot of that theory depends on physical, a limited supply of physical objects for these theories to pan out. A lot of theories that are fundamental to capitalism. But in the digital sphere, we don't have limited resources. We don't have physical restraints. So there's a lot more. A greater degree of motion for the market and for the people involved in that sphere.
But what is your question?
What do you think of that idea? Do you think capitalism is a sufficient economic framework for our emerging reliance on technology?
So it's like the Constitution, right? The Constitution is the wisdom of the laws. It's the framework. It's the foundational principle, right? provide value, get paid for your value is the most fair approach to economics, period. Right? Now, of course, there's going to be areas where we're going to have to use common sense and wisdom and roundtable and figure out how to regulate said thing, right? If you're providing a service and that service happens to be, sex slaves to, I don't know, people on Epstein's Island, right? Well, we're going to have to regulate that. And yeah, that is a value to these people subjectively, but it's morally bankrupt and wrong, and it's also imposing and infringing on other people and hurting them. So capitalism, providing value and then getting paid for that, should never cross the line over to dictating somebody or hurting somebody for it. We can't conflate these things, right? So this is a principle of how we approach a fair trade type of practice, and then there's morality. And you can't conflate the two, and you have to be wise enough to be able to separate them. So as far as the internet, I get what you're saying. Like it's a completely new, robust area with endless possibilities, but so is everything else. So in reality, and yes, there aren't limits to like what AI could do for you in comparison to what workers could do, right? And actual physical workers. But there is a comparison of attention span and care. And then the market does this amazing thing where it decides consciously, subconsciously, what it likes. Right? And so we sway and move through seasons and ideals and fads and so on, but it should always be based off the premise of, you get paid because you provide value, not because any other reason, not because it's been legislated, not because you deserve it from some subjective reason. You have to say, I have value. And someone will say, I would like to exchange my value for your value. It's just fairness.
Well, I've always, whenever it comes to capitalism, I lean towards something that Jordan Peterson said, is that actually profit is there for the mistakes that you're inevitably going to be making in the future. So it's actually, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, Anarcho Josh. You follow me on that?
Profits paying for the mistakes of the future or whatever.
Yeah, the future mistakes that you are bound to make. Like let me give you an example. Is that I was hanging Christmas lights the other day on this house, and I had this male end in my pants, and excuse me.
We certainly hope so.
I had a female end, and it. Okay, listen. I wasn't trying to make this a bit or anything. Like, I'm dead serious. All right, I had there's a piece.
Yeah.
Whenever you're doing electrical work, here we go. Thank you, Nick. Is that this right here is a male end, and so it was in my pocket, right, and it popped out, and then it rolled down into the gutter, and I can't get that back because it's one of those gutters that goes into the ground, and so now I'm out $1. Now, that mistake happens more than you can imagine, and so what I'm saying there is that the profit that you put, on top of what is those things that are going to happen, that are inevitable. And so if you take that away, then what happens 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks down the road is that you can't eat. So. What are your thoughts on the Anarcho?
My thoughts are, I guess that's true or whatever in a capitalist system, but also profit is used for growth and all sorts of things. Like, sure.
So what is your you're a communist and I'm sorry, I have a hard time saying it. You're a communist anarchist. Can you, first of all,
would you like me to try to?
Would you define communist and then anarchist?
Well,
so I mean, and this is not like a gotcha. I want to understand.
No, I know.
Yeah.
At least the anarchism that I believe in is that we should tear down any unnecessary hierarchy or system.
Yeah.
If it's not necessary or if it's causing problems, we shouldn't we should deal with that. Communism is the fun, complex idea that Karl Marx came up with, where instead of the exploitation of workers, because the person who owns the factory makes the profit, but the person who's generating the value is the worker, while the person who owns it doesn't do anything but just owns the factory.
So that's not objectively true, right? Because the person who owns the factory takes all the risk.
That doesn't matter.
They took out the.
I mean, how much value could the worker make if it weren't for the owner?
Right.
Zero.
Like where would the worker work then?
Oh my God, guys. Okay. So,
Give him a lesson. Give him a lesson, Anarcho Josh. Give him a
I'm
lesson.
excited. I'm gonna be.
if I know how to make
I mean,
shoes,
he leaned forward with such fervor.
if I know how to make a shoe,
Yeah.
right, and the person who owns the factory doesn't know how to make a shoe,
Yeah.
and I don't own any leather, you're right. We should come to some sort of agreement. But that doesn't mean that I get cut out of my value because he owns the leather.
Well, isn't it true though that you get paid based on the value you provide to
You
a
would
company?
think that.
Well-
You would think that.
Well, I mean,
Well, if you know,
Then why do we have to fight for higher minimum wage?
maybe because of the institutionalized system that was actually overtaken by communists that made us. No, it's true.
It's
you
not.
No, so you're
It's
telling
really
me.
not.
So Antonio Gramsci. Do you know who that is?
I don't even know who that is.
Okay,
no.
so you should look him up. I'm dead serious because
Okay.
he was a neo-Marxist.
Great.
Okay. He was a neo-Marxist.
Uh-huh.
He came over from the Frankfurt School of Thought.
Uh-huh.
Right? They founded the
I'm aware
critical
of the
theory.
Frankfurt School, yeah.
Okay, well, Antonio Gramsci was the one who created the blueprint for it.
Okay.
Okay, and then through William Benjamin and Theodore Adorno and all these other individuals, they came over into the United States and then infiltrated, went into all the high areas of academia. And they started teaching the principles of critical theory. And the point of the critical theory is a critique, right? To criticize or deconstruct something, tear it all the way down until whoever the audience is willing for a radical change to take place. Now, the reason why Lenin made the statement of calling people useful idiots is because what they did was they were sold a pipe dream about equality, right, and bringing down the system of inequality. But the reality is the people behind it who spurned it had a completely different agenda. And what Marx made the biggest mistake of was he thought, and he had a great theory as far as proletariat versus bourgeoisie. He totally had a phenomenal theory.
Yeah.
They were being completely overran. They were being driven into slavery, basically, right? They were economic hardships that they didn't deserve. And he knew that eventually the working class would rise up and fight back.
Right.
But he assumed that they would want equity, right? Instead of freedom. But what happened was people chose freedom.
Why did we split up equity and freedom?
Because equity is not available unless it is legislated.
Equity is inherently opposed to freedom.
Yes, equity and equality. So here, equity. I'll explain it by moving into Amendment 3. Hold on. Okay. Equity is so the idea of equity is a good idea. Do you know what it used to be called and what it is called in a lot of other circles? Charity. But once it becomes legislated, then it is law, and then it is dictatorial, and it's coercive.
Which is why I'm an anarchist.
Right.
but you're also a communist.
But
aren't those two things?
you're actually.
All right,
Sorry, you know what's funny?
folks, I have. Listen. No, one moment here. So I have this right here. This is my paper of what we're going through. So the number one, somebody had mentioned in the comments right here. This episode is much harder to follow than others that I have watched. That's actually surprising. I thought that this was going a little bit smoother. Listen, so first off, we're going to talk about local politics. Next up, we're going to talk about Amendment 3. Amendment number 3 is this bill that is to legalize marijuana in Missouri. All of these states are coming out and they're saying that we're going to legalize marijuana. We're going to legalize marijuana, but they're not telling you what is inside of that bill. We have Josh here who's going to talk about that. Number 3 is that we have communism. We're going to get to that, ladies and gentlemen. I swear we're going to get to it. I know we're on it, but I want to save that.
He's right. No, he's right. He needs to flow it right.
Listen, so that is, we've got Josh versus Josh. We're going to get to that, folks. Keep flooding in the comments. I want to hear some questions, what you guys have for both sides here. And then the last thing is that we actually have some call-ins. If you're interested in calling in, is that you just need to join the Discord server. Go to samdailyshow.com, scroll to the bottom, and that, my friends, is where you're going to see this big, beautiful blue link that will take you directly to Discord. It is so simple, even a boomer could do it. Folks, this right here is the order. So first off, local politics. What I want to know is how can people get involved? Not just me or any of these other conservative bros that are watching, but also any of the anarcho-communists who are watching, including I would like to see Anarcho Josh come to a meeting. I would like to have him, I would love to just have him come to one of these meetings. I think it would be interesting, and I would love for you to fight somebody. Not fight somebody, maybe debate somebody. That'd be funny. Maybe that's not the place. I don't know. We're going to learn. We're gonna learn about that.
Those are business meetings, yeah.
Those are okay. So we're gonna learn about that. So local politics. We mentioned it earlier. Is that yes? Me, British Max, and Nick. We went to a GOP meeting, and we had a decent time. The most exciting part was getting to see Josh sitting up there in the chair. So. MO RINO Josh, what can these people do to get involved? Because obviously, with all of the transing and can we say that?
Transing of the kids, I guess we did.
Yeah, okay. With all of that happening and then all of the things that are seeping into the schools and all of the entertainment industry, that I'm actually kind of for the whole entire, let's censor the R-rated system. I think it's messy. The PG-13, they're throwing weight to it. Anyway, I'm not going to get sidetracked, folks, is that what is it that these guys can do to actually get involved locally? Because obviously, after COVID, we've seen the governors, they have more power than we thought, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, we've also seen that the public schools have more power than we thought. We see that the public health care has way more power than anybody could imagine. I mean, they legitimately made everybody wear masks, diapers on their faces for 2 years, except for me. I went strong. Just said, no, I'm not doing that. Including going to Quick Trip and them telling me, you need to put a mask on to buy that chewing tobacco, sir. And I looked at them and I said, well, I said some things, and then I left, and I walked out, and then I ended up going I went to a Phillips 66, and they didn't really give a damn. Mm-hmm. That's aside. Okay. So, MO RINO Josh, tell us, what do we do? Step one.
Okay. So the most important thing is understanding what the party looks like. What does the party look like, right? So what you have to think of is you have the voters, and that's the entire party. Right, everybody who goes in and votes, even I have to exclude the independents here because they could vote Democrat or Republican. But if you're talking about the Republican Party or any party really, you have the voter base, and then the next step up are the committee members. Right, and the committee members. So everybody is put into districts. You're in a sub-district based off of your committees. Right, so it just gets smaller and smaller and smaller so that it can divide up the people and still have working mechanisms. So you have a congressional district, right, and then inside of that you have senatorial districts, state, and then inside that you have House, state districts, and then inside that you have county, and then you have school boards and so on, right? And so it tiers down based on that, and the first level from the bottom, the ground, the grassroots up is the committee. Okay, and the committee is made up of one man and one woman from every precinct, right? And so depending on the size of the county, right, or the township or whatever, it just determines how many people are there, right, based on the census and how they divide it up. But those people are the first level of elected representatives for their constituents. So everybody in my sub-district area, right, I actually represent them and their interests when I go to these meetings. And so the statement, in fact, I have it right here, I think. The statement of the Missouri GOP is as follows, and this just kind of gives you an understanding because it's straight out of the bylaws, and so you understand what the point is, right? And if anybody, this is one of the best things to do as well, is if you really want to have an understanding of how this stuff works, whether you want to burn it down or whether you want to fortify it, truly, you should study the laws, because that's what Marx did, or the neo-Marxists did. Marx gave us the theory, the neo-Marxists put it into political practice, cultural and political practice.
Hey, before you pull this out, Nick, I've spoke to you about this, is that you're supposed to pat people down before they come in here. What are you pulling out? Let's just...
It's my little red folder that the wonderful Rebecca Rooney, our prior chair, gave all of us so that we knew what we were doing. She was a phenomenal leader.
I thought you were going to bring out some kind of AK-56.
No, I don't have enough room in my backpack.
Do you own one of those firearms?
I don't. Not an AK-56. I don't.
Oh, okay. All right.
Anyways,
so this little red book, what's in it?
So it's Missouri Republican State Committee bylaws. So all of these things, all these organizations, everything government and party affiliated is governed by words, right? Framework. And so our bylaws, the objectives of the Missouri Republican State Committee, and now understand that the State Committee is kind of like almost like our Constitution in the sense that for the committees, that we go off of that, and it can't, our bylaws, we all can have bylaws, but it can't contradict, right? So this is why I'm reading specifically from the state. So the objectives of the Missouri Republican State Committee is to support the Constitution and laws of the United States of America and the Constitution and laws of the state of Missouri, to the end that government shall be truly and in fact a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And then B is to foster loyalty to the Republican Party and to promote its principles and to recruit and assist and elect Republican candidates. Okay, and then there's another one to facilitate cooperation among national, state, and all of that. But, you know, those are more the administrative side. But basically, the point is the whole purpose of the party is to make sure that the Constitution is followed, and it's a government of the people, for the people, by the people. Now, I think even you could get on board with that, but what we understand is that people who utilize this for selfish gains, that's the problem. It's not the laws, right? It's the people who are manipulating or usurping the real authority by deception or deviation from it, right? Or whatever the case is, or obfuscation. You know, they act like they don't know, or anyways. But the point is that's what the party's purpose is. So when you go to the committee level, our bylaw is simply the same thing. The purpose of this county committee shall be to foster loyalty to the Republican Party, to promote its principles, and to recruit, assist, and elect Republican candidates. Now, a conservative is an individual who believes in limited government, right? So anything that is excessive and oppressive, we want to abolish it.
Sure.
Right? And then at the same time, making sure that the Constitution promotes and protects equality under the law for opportunity and for being prosecuted or tried in court, and to make sure that everybody's represented equally, right? And so if we do that, then we have a free-moving system where human beings can figure out what it is they want to do. So if you get involved in the committee, whether you are a committee person, and all that means is you have voting rights for things that you may come up with, and the voting rights will be, should we censure somebody, you know? So we censured Dave Schatz. People call him Dave Schatz, but he was the head of the Senate, and he gave us the gas tax, and so we say he shat on us, right? So we censured Dave Schatz and said, even though he wasn't our senator, he was the pro tem, which means he's the president of the Senate, which means he resides or presides over all of the senators as far as the business that's being done, and he affects us. And so because he held up the Second Amendment Preservation Act and an election integrity bill in order to pass a gas tax bill that he's actually probably going to profit from, because he owns a company that does road work and the tax money goes to road work, right? So we censured him and we said, basically, here's a big fuck you to Schatz, because you violated our principles and you went against the platform, and therefore we call you out, we disavow you, and we will not fund you in any way or support you in a statewide or a federal race, right? So that's something the committee can do. They can also put out resolutions.
Now, whoa, hold up. Now, did that work?
So, well, let's just say this. When he and many other committees did it, and when he ran for Senate, he was polling in the other category.
Ouch.
So we are the base, the absolute base of Republican or elected officials, whether you're Republican or Democrat. The committees are the base. And so if we came out, like, we're Sam Graves' district, right? And if a multiple of us came out, because Sam Graves keeps giving money to Ukraine, right? Why? You're promoting World War III.
So basically, educate yourself, get involved in a committee, and vote.
Well, not only that, but you have to understand the mechanisms, because not only...
So educate yourself.
Right, but you have to understand the mechanisms and then apply them, right? And that's a big thing, because a lot of people start understanding, but it gets scary when you're now surrounded by people that may disagree with your point, right? And so you can censure, you can do resolutions, like how we came out and we said we rejected the results of the 2020 election and so on, right? And then you can also do funding. So those are the three things at your fingertips, and then of course you educate the populace and so on. But as far as your actual mechanisms or tools, those are the main ones. But when you get together as a committee, if we're all in the committee together, right, there is what's called Robert's Rules of Order. And that governs not only how committees work, but if you went to the Senate or the House or anything else, it also governs how board of directors work at companies a lot of the time.
Now, how many people are at each one of these committees?
Again, it just depends. So, you know, I don't even know how many we have. We have missing seats. Everybody.
I guess the better question I'm asking
is... It can be anywhere
like,
from 10 people or 5 people, because I've been to as little as 5 to 65, as far as what I've seen in Missouri.
So I guess my question is, like, how many guys need to just show up to be actually a part, not to be a part. How many guys
You have to have a
need to
quorum.
show up to then?
You have to have a quorum, and a quorum is saying that you have enough people to do business, and that's at least a simple majority. So if we had 10 people, we have to have 6 people show up to do business.
I think so. That means how many guys we would need to really have an impact at these meetings.
Oh, you'd be great. So this is how it works. So the committee meetings are business meetings. It's where you bring up ideas. It's where you bring things to the table that may make a difference. And so you may say, I want to censor somebody, I want to do a resolution, or I want to fund somebody. Well, you have to stand up, right? And then you have to have some kind of some allies to help you out, right? So I have to say, and I would say, I motion that we fund Anarcho Josh to have a constitutional course, right? And then you would say, I second that. And now, by the rules, it has to come to the floor for discussion or debate. And then all opposing or proponent sides will give their states or their arguments or whatever. And there's a couple other different things that could happen within that. But basically, you bring up an idea, if it gets seconded, it gets discussed, and then it gets voted on.
No, I understand that. So this is a more of conservative show, plus Anarcho Josh. But I am curious, what does the other side of the coin look like, right? What is the Democrat Party? What does that look? Is it similar to that? Is that they have
Actually, it's top-down control. So the Democratic Party is 10x smaller than us as far as the insiders are concerned, which is wild, right? But it's top-down control. They send their marching orders from the DNC, and everybody follows suit.
Wow.
So it comes down, and that's why they're always so concise and going together, because there's really not that many in the leadership roles or the insider roles. They utilize the grassroots of the party, and what's really frustrating and sad is most of the people that get utilized by the Democratic Party, they're playing on their emotions, right? So they're either people who have like a good heart and they want to see change, and so they spin them up on this web of crazy change that may happen if they do this, and they get them in their fields, and they say, all we need you to do is commit to this, and then they go out and put their heart and soul into it. But the entire time they're actually being deceived, because what they actually want to do is just take money away or take more control. And it's the exact same thing in the Republican Party. So you can't think it's different. You know, it's the same type of people. It's the uniparty.
There you go.
Right, yeah, it's the uniparty.
That's both of them.
Thomas Jefferson, right? Democratic Republican. He was amazing. He was one of my favorites. Samuel Adams was a Democrat, right? Andrew Jackson, Democrats, right? And they were actually against the Federalists before. And what Democrat Republican is what we've split out of. Isn't that wild? So he was about the party, about the sovereignty and the safety of the people, but at the same time with a representative government, because representative government stems mob rule. Right? And so a good example of mob rule, and this is just because it's an easy one to understand, because everybody probably seen it or at least heard it or seen a painting of it, is when Jesus was crucified. That's democracy. What happened? What was that whole situation, right? In the dead of night, somebody, first and foremost, there were false accusations made, right? And seconded, so there was corruption there. In the dead of night, they went and grabbed him. While they were pulling him out, they sent people around and stirred up the people off of a premise of the thing they hated the most, which was blasphemy, right? Got them all riled up, pissed off, and angry, brought in the subject matter, went after him, right? And then by them yelling and screaming and protesting, they were able to have the man hung on a cross. Representative government would have been, he is being accused. He will now go into a situation where there are people who will lay this all out and discuss it from all different sides of the table, right? And so now there's not as much emotion involved where the mob gets whipped up, because we can all become a mob. Right? Mob is a mentality. It's not just a certain group of people. But the mob gets all whipped up, and then we make decisions out of emotion, and I think everyone should be able to agree that making decisions out of fear or anger or any type of deep emotion is usually dangerous. So the representative government is important. The problem is they've moved us out of our place as citizens, as the right that we have to govern ourselves, and basically, got us to the point where they pat us on the head. I can't reach your head because it's taller, but pat us on the head and say, "You don't understand all this. Leave it to us." It's classism, and then they have a demigod kind of complex.
So what you're saying is that the Democratic the levels there, it's kind of they've run that kind of like a Mormon church, and then whereas the Republicans run it more like a non-denominational.
Right, and you know what but it's so sinister because it can only be like a higher metaphysical plane that actually plays this out, right? Because they have this perfect dynamic where one is one way and another's another. So like what we found out when we went into when we did this election resolution, right? This is a hot topic. This is what I call a line drawer, right? I'm gonna put a line in the sand. What side are you on, kind of thing. And so, like, if you really, I mean, regardless if we believe there's fraud or not, okay, elections literally are the bedrock of our nation. If we can't choose our leaders, then we're not governing ourselves, right? And so, to know that the elections are something that we need to defend is incredible. I went around to different committees. And one committee I was at when they were voting on this, a Republican stood up, and this is what he said: "I believe there was fraud all through it, but there's nothing we can do about it." So I think we need to move on and focus on the future. And the future for the committee is electing Republicans to elected office. So I know the system is rigged, that we are in charge of like getting people elected to, but let's move on, pretend like it didn't happen, and go down. And then his argument was even, what makes it different than the election fraud that happened in 1970 or 1962 and XYZ. And this is the difference in the mindset, right? I'm thinking all you're doing is proving my point that there's fraud for decades. And now we have the opportunity to stand. But you don't want to.
Because of a precedent.
Because of the party. Because they're so afraid that the party will splinter and split, right? To the point where they will literally, I will call out people for doing underhanded things and lying to their constituents. That's all I care about, is that you're accountable to what you say you're going to do. That's why I don't have a problem. I don't talk about Democrats. It's not my bag.
I think that Anarcho Josh, you would agree with that too, right?
That what? People
lying
should be
to
held
people.
accountable?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Especially if we're demanding that we have leaders like that.
Yes.
We should hold them accountable.
Yes.
Sure.
Well, what's crazy is this is what I deal with, right? So I'll call somebody out. Right now, there's a representative that has been blatantly caught.
Name drop. You have to.
In a lie. Nick Schroyer, from Senate-elect from St. Charles County.
Is that the guy that looks like the rat?
No, that's Rudy Veit.
Are we still on local politics?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
So the point is you have people that will lie and deceive their constituents. And the way you find this out, right, is you have to press them and you say, okay, you endorse this. Why? Give me all the reasons, while sidestepping the actual problem of the equity issue, right? And then when I press, then he calls me a liar and starts gaslighting me. So I'm like, okay, well, why are you doing that? And then I happen to get sent a link by all these grassroots people. We're all in a network that no one sees, and they're popping up everywhere. And I get a link, and I see that this guy is praising Amendment 3 and also being a conservative. And I'm like, there's no way, dude. There's no way you're this ignorant, because if you read the language, it's fine. Well, this dude's name is Duell Wayne Lauderdale, right?
Just so happened
Duell Wayne Lauderdale. And just so happened that he was the one who was anointed or endorsed by Nick Schroyer to take his place in the House.
Curious.
Right. And then he calls me that I don't have comprehension skills and that I'm gullible, right? And so instead of having a dialogue saying, I think you misrepresented it or you misunderstood it, it goes directly to character assassination, right? And then this other guy comes in, Carl Bearden, right, from United for Missouri, which is supposed to be a conservative economic PAC kind of thing, promoting conservative values, which is no discrimination in business whatsoever, right? Comes in and then supports the talking point of Duell in the argument, saying, you're exactly right, the chief equity officer has nothing to worry about, this is all misinformation, blah, 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 right? Then come to find out, another researcher, a friend of mine, Allie, drops a little tidbit in the thread and says, oh, is that interesting, you own a dispensary. And the way that the law has been created is the people who own the medical dispensaries have the first dibs on the recreational. And so now they have this court, and all these people are from St. Charles County, all these people are connected, and all these people are using the exact same talking points. To me, that raises a red flag.
Isn't it also the case that the bill explicitly states that doctors who own dispensaries can't be held accountable for any potential conflict of interest?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't know.
Well, there's 56 pages of the document.
But the thing is
I can tell you that
there's 39 pages with the document.
And I can tell you right now, it's actually 38.
That's right, because it has a cover page.
Which is way too many to just get rid of the law that makes weed illegal.
And we're going to get to that, because right here we just hit local politics. Cross that off the list. Where is the Sharpie? Hand it over here. We're getting the Sharpie out. Ladies and gentlemen, we have local politics. We are crossing that off the list. Now we're going to move on to amendment number 3. I had brought it up just briefly. It's here in Missouri, and a lot of other states are doing this too. I don't understand why, other than to say, here's this shiny little object right here. Vote for this, and then there's something always hidden in it. The greatest example I can think of is all of the stimulus checks that were voted on. Everybody wanted that $2,000, or I don't know how much money. What was $2,300? You made all of this money, right, from the government. It was the cool check. I actually wanted to frame it myself. I didn't end up doing that. But then we found out by just going through the bill and reading it is that, sure, each person made, they got $2,000, but Ukraine had, or not Ukraine, I think it was Afghanistan had $100,000 that went to their gender studies program. Am I right on that?
That's incredibly courageous.
It was a gender studies program, and it was at Afghanistan, Syria, which honestly Syria could use a gender studies program. I'm not gonna lie, they are so sexist and bigoted over there that it's just.
Ooh.
We'll talk after the stream, Sam.
Is it my turn? I don't know.
Is it
What's
what?
going on? What's going on here?
Are we transitioning, Sam?
Yes,
to,
we are transitioning to Owen, who has read through the whole entire thing, and he's going to swing it over. And go ahead, Owen. Go ahead, smoke.
Well, I had an enormous document full of notes, and it is gone. So I'm going to be going off memory here. So I'm sure that you're much more familiar. There were a few problematic snippets that I found when I was reading over Amendment 3, which, if I understand it correctly, is an amendment to the Missouri Constitution that would legalize marijuana, very basically, but there are some sections of that I think a lot of people have a problem with. Do you want to tell me?
Yeah, so the biggest thing, the first thing that needs to be understood, and Anarcho Josh actually said it, it's way too many words to be a simple transition in the Constitution. First and foremost, like, the Constitution is supposed to be the wisdom of your laws. In other words, this is how we do things. If it were to be an amendment, it should have said something like, the state of Missouri will regulate the legal consumption of marijuana. Done. Right? That would have been it. And then we would have built off that. Right? And it would have just been, oh, you have a right to have legal weed, whatever. I mean, it should have been something that was done legislatively so we could critique it and make it right, whether we open it up or restrict it more. But the problem is to lay the groundwork and understand, every state that's dealt with this has dealt with the same thing. So the Drug Alliance Policy, or Drug Policy Alliance from George Soros, right, his think tank, worked with NORML and different organizations like that to create the medical marijuana, right, initiative. And that was like the lead-in, because I got everybody associated with it, and it was like, whatever, it's not that big of a deal, we might as well. Because most people really don't care. Right? They may not be pro-weed and they don't want the kids to smoke or anything else, but most people just don't care. And the problem is conservatives have ignored this for so long, right? So in Amendment 3, they gave them the opportunity. They saw a burgeoning market. They saw something that the populace would most likely go for, and they say, okay, how can we utilize this? And so what it did is, in the system itself, right, it's in the licensing process. It not only creates a chief equity officer, right, but it also creates a specific guideline for the comprehensive licenses. So in the amendment, you have two different licensing classes. You have the micro business license, and then you have the comprehensive. And the comprehensive is just saying the normal whatever license. The micro business license is very, very small, right? And so the purpose of this whole amendment, right, the premise is that there have been people who have been disproportionately harmed by marijuana prohibition, right? Which in a lot of senses is true. Right? That's not bad. I mean, a lot of people have been affected by marijuana prohibition, right? Some more than others. But the idea is so from the ACLU, let me just give you a quote real quick. So
I can tell you firsthand.
So it says, so let me get down into it, sorry. So the Drug Policy Alliance, I'm sorry, this is DPA. The Drug Policy Alliance believes marijuana should be removed from the criminal legal system and regulated for adult use with equity, social justice, and community reinvestment at the core. So that is the Marxist ideology. It is legislating equity.
But the DPU's mission statement is not itself legislation, though, correct?
No. But this is I'm sorry. So the reason why I'm saying this is because there was a dialogue that was said that this has nothing to do with critical race theory or social justice or any of this other stuff. But the people who supported it and endorsed it, this is the things that they're saying. This area, marijuana, is about social justice. The ACLU said marijuana is marijuana is a social justice, is a racial social justice issue, right? And so even though they didn't say the urban black community, right, they statistically defined them.
Right. Well, when I was reading over that, it was talking about areas that I believe it said that faced incarceration at a rate 50%
higher, right?
Right,
Yep,
50% greater than the I believe.
Or a high school that's not accredited, or a family member or a family member was arrested because of this. All these different things, and the point is this. Equity, the whole concept of saying we're going to create a micro business license to give to a specific class of people, right, to make it easier for them because they don't have the money that maybe somebody else would have, right? So that's called legislating equity. I'm giving you something you don't have, right? Well, the problem is, and the way we need to look at it objectively, is you chose one class. It doesn't matter what race or class or anything else. You chose one class and decided to discriminate against every single other class for this specific opportunity. And now this is something that now has precedence in our Constitution, because they can say, let's extrapolate it a little bit. If CRT in schools, right? So they're saying SEL, CRT, whatever, it doesn't exist. We're simply teaching equity, right?
Could you tell me what SEL means?
Social emotional learning. It's CRT. So all of these names are just different tools for the same end goal.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
That's DEI. So there's DEI, there's SEL, and there's CRT, but it's all deconstructionism to demoralize the population, so they hate the system they're in and they hate the people they are, so they will accept a radical change.
That is ludicrous, by the way. All of that. Are you kidding me?
So you don't.
All those things are made to make us
demoralize. Yes. You want to know why?
Teaching other people how to love each other.
Really? You think that's it?
Yeah,
you think that's it?
Yeah.
Because the only outcome is oppressor and oppressed. What's good about that? If I'm having a dialogue with somebody and I'm a child and you tell me I'm either an oppressor or oppressed, how am I going home with self-confidence? How am I going home learning to love people?
In any situation, either an oppressor or oppressed?
No, not at all.
Are you sure?
Yes, I lift people out of the bucket all the time, and people lift me out all the time, and I do everything I can within my power not to oppress anybody.
Anarcho Josh,
so to be educated and indoctrinated as children, because you know why it's children? Because it's easier to shape a mind than change a mind, right?
I'd agree.
So they're shaping the minds and saying, this society is made of oppressed and oppressors, and you're one of either, and neither is good.
Actually, I would say that anyone working in the system that we have now in America is technically an oppressor when it comes to the exploitation of the global South.
So the global South?
Yeah. All the poor countries we exploit.
So I think this kind of gets into the communism debate. I don't know if we. I want to go there. I just don't know. I don't want to mess up
I think
we're still on Amendment 3 now.
So
weed is good. I love.
I'm not anti-legalization. I want to put that out there, right? I'm not anti-legalization at all. I'm actually pro conservative legislation. Free open market, right? Because the equity portion is simply this, right? They are legislating benefits or incentives to a specific class while discriminating against every other class. That may seem innocuous because we've been educated and conditioned this way for a very long time, but that's the first step into totalitarian control, because now you are deciding who I can or can't do business with. So think about this. The people in the micro business license, okay? So they have to come up with a plan of how they're going to, or the people in the comprehensive license have to submit a plan of how they're going to encourage and offer opportunity to those in said class, okay? So I'm a business owner now, and maybe I'm just a good dude and I'm trying to do the best I can, and I got margins to make, right? And I got a supplier that I've been looking everywhere for that gives me the best packaging possible, right? But then the chief equity officer comes in at the end of the year and reviews my business and says, hey, buddy, based on my standards and the standards that someone else wrote, you're not being equitable enough, and so you're going to have to figure out your partnerships with people and go with somebody who's a little bit more in need. So now you come in and you determine who I'm allowed to do business with based on a subjective reason, right? That's control. You're telling me who I can and can't do business with based on an equitable proposition. And then that plan is enforceable. So it's not just the chief equity officer, which presides over the micro business side, but it's also the licensing process in the comprehensive side that demands a plan that says, how are you going to show equity to these people? It doesn't use the word equity, but it says, how are you going to show opportunity to these people specifically? In other words, discriminate against everybody else. And then when you give us this plan, it becomes enforceable. And if you don't adhere to it, we can give you administrative fines, we can suspend your license, we can revoke your license, or we can restrict it. That's control. This is not freedom. It has nothing to do with inequality and injustice. That's what they wrap all this crap up in. It's control. Because eventually, when they take that position over, they'll take the next. And one day, it will cross everyone's path, and everyone, in one way or another, will be afflicted by this because we have given them a beachhead or a launching pad to go off of. The equity in and of itself, legislating equity, goes completely against the Constitution, right? Because equality, and I'm going to read a quote for you by Robert B. Charles. Fundamentally, equality and equity are different. The first is an American constitutional value found in the 5th and 14th Amendments, dedicated to assuring individual citizens are entitled to equal protection under the law and equal chance to participate in society, from education and employment to security and prosperity.
And none of that's true here in America today.
Because of the people who are doing it.
You mean the people in charge?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. So let's join forces and change things.
Does it make sense to continue to enforce equity, or so you're saying that you are dissatisfied with how well our current situation represents what the Constitution said it should be, right? He is making the exact same point. He does not like the direction this bill is headed. Mm-hmm. You, ostensibly, do not like the direction this bill is headed. Where is the disagreement?
There is none.
So here's the thing, too. So when it comes to the policies that have been created, right, are actually the things that are to the detriment of people, right? So the black community was targeted by LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson. He said he would have the N-word vote for the next 100 years when they instituted welfare. Right.
Hey, what is that N-word?
It's a word that I detest and I will never say it. So, anyways, the point being is, what they did is they started incentivizing single parents. They'll give you less money if you have a husband in the home, a father in the home, than they will if you have none. Now, that doesn't make any sense. It's true. You can look it up. Every single time
you know why? Because people who don't have, if they're a single parent, they need more money.
So a family,
right? Don't you think?
So a family,
you lose one entire income. So a family mm-hmm. who needs money mm-hmm. doesn't need more. There's another mouth to feed. Where's your argument? What do you mean? There's another person working, providing an income.
And so, so there, now two people mean equality, and everybody's going to make all the money they need to make.
What you're talking, like, you're like, well, since they're giving single mothers more money.
No,
okay,
so
they're
incentivizing. No, they're incentivizing single parent homes over dual parent homes. It should be the same money. There should not be more money given to you based off this. I had friends, right, who lived together, who had kids together, who the girl had to take the man to child support court so that they could get the benefits they needed to feed their family, and they lived together. They had their cards. He had his work money direct deposited into her welfare account because the system would not allow them to get the other benefits like food stamps that they needed if she was not a single mother, even though they needed it, and he worked 50 hours a week.
Well, you're saying...
Well, yeah, but that's a sign of a even deeper systemic issue, which is the fact that black people have absolutely never been, like, treated fairly in this country ever.
Look, folks, we're going to get to the black people here in a second, but first of all, I got my magic Sharpie right here, and we've got Amendment 3. We're going to go ahead and close on that. To wrap it up is that the government does stupid things, and
no, it needs to be left that it was legislated, like we legislated neo-Marxist ideals into the founding documents of our state laws, which means that they now have the foothold to do worse things, and they plan to by their own admission.
Basically, weed is good and government's bad, so they're trying to take this good thing and profit off of it.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Got it. Glad we're on the same page.
I'm so happy that you guys could both agree. That's huge. We're going to get slowly instead. Owen, did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
Yeah, well, actually, I have a question for non-Anarcho Josh.
MO RINO Josh.
Yeah.
Before we get into communism
the
versus
nom de guerres.
Josh.
So, do you think it's reasonable for the government to financially incentivize a moral good?
So this is no, and the reason for that is because there's this thing called the crowding out effect.
Can I give you an example?
Yeah.
Children's faces on milk cartons.
Mm-hmm.
The government subsidized the production of the printing of missing children's faces on milk cartons for several years. I think we would agree that's a public good.
No.
No?
I think it's a fear-mongering tool.
Why?
Because you always see your kid, there's another one, there's another one, there's another one when they did nothing outside of that. How about law enforcement that stops and cracks down on the child trafficking? I would do the job that needs to be done instead of plastering it on milk cartons.
I'm not saying that there aren't more effective measures.
That's not incentivizing good behavior, though. That's just doing something.
Okay, but a public good, is it okay for a government to financially incentivize public good? Like, isn't the entire concept of marriage, I mean, from a secular perspective, I understand that marriage is a lot deeper than that. But from a governmental perspective, isn't the entire idea of marriage to facilitate and incentivize an objectively more stable and productive?
It's just the contractual agreements. That's it.
Right, but the government provides tax incentives to married couples. Why?
Yeah, because that's what they want to do. I mean, because somebody legislated. Why? I don't know.
You don't. I mean, doesn't it make sense? Do you think that a married? I mean, I think you made the argument.
See, okay. So yes, it's good. But this is the problem, and this is the same thing like with COVID, right? When they were making all their kids go home, right? If you touch somebody as COVID, you go home for 2 weeks, right? And so now your parents got to deal with that. Well, you know what? They came out with an alternative. You know what the alternative was? Test as an alternative to quarantining. And then when you test, take this app, keep your location on, and we'll let you know if you're good and where you are. Track and trace, right? So what my point of that is you are asking if this is a good alternative to a bad situation as is. Taxation without representation is theft, right? You don't deserve my damn money. You don't deserve my income tax. So I don't want to argue. I don't want to be misdirected with an argument, right? Of is it better to incentivize here? I want government the hell out of my life, because then what I was going back to is the crowding out effect. Because the government started subsidizing welfare, right, and started making these things happen, then it actually pushed out the churches and the Lions Club and the Rotary Club and the Shriners and all the other people who actually used to do charity as their hobby.
Okay, then tax breaks for churches.
They don't have tax breaks. They're tax exempt.
Tax exemption for churches.
Yes. And for everyone else. And for everyone else. No discrimination.
So you think there should be no distinction between a church and another corporation under the law?
No. Income tax? No. We have sales tax. Plenty. You see what happens when we have income tax? We send billions of dollars over to Ukraine to a FTX to then invest in FTX exchange, who then invests back in the establishment and sends millions of dollars to the Democrat and Republican Party. Why? Because there's too much money going around anyways. Give me my money back. Give me my 25, 32, 45% back. And then let me decide what I want to do. Let me be free. That's the whole thing. It's a moral superiority that we are fighting against, where someone thinks they know better than someone else. Look, just don't cross the line and hurt me. Leave me alone. Do whatever the hell you want to do, but don't force it down my throat, and don't try and change me, right? When there's a crowding out effect because there's too many people involved in government, it takes away the heart. Charity, the Bible tells us that the utmost, the greatest of these is charity. Everybody says love, but it's actually charity. You know what charity is? Love in action, right? So the greatest of these is love. And so they crowded out charity and allowing the human spirit to find that and exercise that by legislating it and taking it from you because they say you're not good enough to do it. And so now a homeless man, instead of getting a conversation and a hot meal and a friend, they get a box of toiletries.
And a free heroin needle.
Yes, exactly. This is the kind of bullshit that they're just perpetuating things. Instead of saving these people, instead of engaging these people, instead of letting them know there's a different way and loving them into something different, accepting them, holding them, taking care of them, they isolate us. That's the whole goal. That's the only thing that you and I even have in contradiction, is you see it one specific way, I see it another, but we both want the end goal. We want freedom and we want peace.
No, our end goals are different.
You don't want freedom and peace?
No, it's not about freedom and peace.
What's
it's
it about?
the fact that like you still promote your Republican Party, which are a bunch of fascist dictators.
Yeah.
So let's delineate.
And so-
Let me just interject with a
hold
quick
on.
based.
Okay, so let's delineate real quick, okay? Is the Republican objectively, if I join the Republican Party because of the principles, and the principles aren't fascist, does that make me a fascist because assholes do
I'm not
it?
saying you're a fascist. I'm saying the people in charge, the Republicans in charge, are fascists.
What are
and
the
you're
fascist
all
policies?
No, I'm not. You know what I'm doing?
What?
And this is why I get all the flack, because I'm holding people accountable to those principles that they should be doing, and I'm promoting the difference, the reference point of what the Republican Party should be.
What's the end goal look like?
Okay,
do you mean? The end goal?
that's a good question.
Your peace
That's a
and love.
great question, Anarcho Josh. Phenomenal question. I love it. I love where your mind's at. I love where you're going with this.
What?
Mo Rhino
Sam?
Josh, as you're getting fired up, this is great. This is phenomenal. This is Amendment 3 getting crossed off the list. Ladies and gentlemen, we have rolled into communism. We have Anarcho Josh.
Democratize everything.
Okay.
We have what?
Well, I mean,
So, no,
are we
I like
starting?
your question. It was a wonderful question. I'd love to.
Oh, but I'm almost there. I'm almost there, guys. We're going to get to it, I swear. But first, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to support the show, go to samdailyshow.com. The best way to not only support it, but also to get involved. A lot of these guys here, it started out by just, hanging out and having a conversation. We want more voices, and I'm sure Anarcho Josh wants a team that supports him, too. So even if you are an anarcho-communist, even if you are someone who is diehard Democrat, loves CNN, NBC, and all that, we still want you to join the party, okay? So you go to Sam Daily Show, you scroll down to the bottom of the page, and click on that big old blue button that says Join Discord, and we'll have Discord. So, folks, this is our last and end of the show here.
Well,
we have
Sam, real quick.
Yes.
There's quite a few people
Owen.
in chat who are interested in doing a Q&A. Do we have time for that after this?
I'll stay. For
we so what's that? I've got Mo Rhino Josh in my ear. He
I will
says,
stay for a Q&A if that's cool.
Anarcho Josh, are you game for a Q&A
that's
to follow
fine.
up?
Sure.
Okay, awesome. So after we have this little discussion with communism and what is good, what is bad, what is socialistic and cruel to the society at large. Did I mention Sam Daily Show? Do we have the soap? I don't have the soap. Do you have the soap, Owen?
I have the soap, but I'm not eating it again. I've become very ill since the last time. I don't think it's wise to continue this bit. But buy the soap.
It's good.
I will start approving people into the Discord server. So if you join in the next 10 minutes or so, we'll get you in.
Yeah.
Right on. You hear that,
Thank you,
folks?
Bob. We'll get to your question
Jump to
imminently.
samdailyshow.com. So I'm going to swing it back over to Owen. Owen is going to take the reins on this. He's going to mediate it. You guys, please, do you want to lay out the ground rules, Owen? I'm sure you've done this before, maybe.
I'm not actually going to establish any rules. I'm just going to shout at people when I think it gets too far.
I think what is
That's
definitely
fine.
needed is for both of us, right? Like if I'm starting to talk over him and vice versa, like make sure we each get opportunity to speak so that
I actually really want to hear from Anarcho Josh because his is a viewpoint I'm not exposed to nearly as frequently.
So I do just want to say the one rule that I have is yes, please don't talk over each other. If it gets too emotional, we're going to have to get out the belt, and it's a little
we
bit
have
different
beaten
about
guests with the belt on live TV before.
It's a little bit
not
different
TV,
here.
but-
Is that if there's anything
So
kind
can he start? So can he start with the question? I think is phenomenal. I think it's a great place to start. Can he start with his answer to that question?
What was the question?
What does your end goal look like?
Well, one moment here is that I just wanted to let everybody know that we do have our intern here. Nick is in the shot. So if people do start talking over each other, I'm not going to take the belt to you. I'm going to get the other intern and the
Whipping Boy Nick, as he's known.
Yes, Whipping Boy Nick is that he will take shots. So Anarcho Josh, Mo Rhino Josh, please be respectful, be kind, and swinging it over to Owen. Let's go.
It's not a bit either. They actually.
Okay, so you want to? I guess we can start with that. What is your end goal? What would you
Look
like to see?
Yeah.
Degrowth of things that are destroying the planet. There would be probably some sort of system set up to where, like, it's just small government. Like, if there is any government, I think once you get too many people in one place that's like in a civilization, like, it gets horribly complicated. The point where you don't know your neighbors anymore is the point where that's a problem. Like in my resident-owned community or whatever that we have, like, it's like kind of big, and it's hard to keep track of like the in and outs of everything all the time or whatever. But yeah, it should be simplified, like we talked about earlier. So it's just like simplify everything, democratize everything, and tear down any unnecessary hierarchy.
It seems to me like you have given us a lot of means, but not a lot of ends. Like you're giving me policies, and those are really interesting. But I'm interested to know what these policies are meant to accomplish ultimately. What does your
just so we don't have homeless people.
That is your platform.
Well, we don't have homeless people. We don't have a 1% controlling everything. We don't have dictators.
Why?
We, the people, democratized everything. The workplace, the government.
Why?
Why? So we can be in control instead of someone controlling us.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
I mean, why?
Why is that bad? If someone is controlling us instead of us being in control?
Why? More specifically, why is it not good? I mean, yeah.
Why is it not good? Freedom?
Whoa.
To what ends?
Oh, I said the word. Freedom.
To what end?
What do you mean, to what end?
To what end? Is freedom the end, or is freedom a means to an end for you?
Freedom, security, and happiness.
How are you defining freedom?
Oh, man. Man, just let me do what I want. Let me do what I want and let it not harm others.
Well, is that true freedom? I don't think it is.
No, of course not. But true freedom isn't a thing that, like,
It's attainable.
Yeah, it's attainable to some sort of...
True freedom is anarchy.
Like you would
Sure,
you
but
would,
it's
I mean,
like,
it is.
if
Like
there's some guy who owns everything and can do whatever he wants, he has true freedom. The people that he controls does not. Except my only thing with this whole freedom conversation is that to be truly free, you have to will the freedom of others. If I want to be taken as a serious, well-respected violinist, I can't force other people to say that they like my music or respect me, because then it's not true, and I'm not really getting what I want out of that. So I have to allow people to freely choose if they like my violin. Yes.
I don't think that's what true freedom is. I think true freedom is freedom from desire and sin. So, for example, you said that I could do whatever I wanted, and
Sure.
that would make me free. If I watched pornography all day, if I was an alcoholic, if I was dependent on a drug, I wouldn't be free. I would still be choosing to do those things. I just wouldn't be free.
So what, I'm just supposed to sit on top of a mountain all day and not enact on my desires at all? Am I free then?
That's a good point.
You're free. You're free from addiction and from vice.
Oh, I'm free from
being free from vice and sin is really what it means to be free.
Okay, so
Not whether you're allowed to shoot up heroin.
I wanna give Mo Rhino.
fair enough. So good point. But you're going into a metaphysical discussion
That is
on
true.
a political discussion, right? So it's not fair to use that point.
Fair enough.
Anyways, I agree with you though. So no joke, right? And I think again, the reason why we have even a division in our thinking is because they've made us so emotionally charged that we don't sit down and have dialogue like this, which I appreciate
agree.
beyond
Yeah.
belief, right?
Yeah.
So what you just described with the violinist is capitalism.
Is it how?
Because you said I cannot force my value on others. I have to put it out there, and they have to see if it's enjoyable or not. And then therefore that would elevate you. That is the exact same thing as providing value and a person thinking it's valuable enough to pay for it or to give value in exchange. You literally just espouse capitalism.
Yeah, but what am I getting out of it if they think I'm a...
Well,
like,
why are you
what
playing
are
the
they
violin?
paying? What are they paying?
What they're paying, they can pay all kinds of different things. Payment is not just money.
Right. I don't think that's capitalism, though. Just
But
because I get paid
the thing is
or whatever.
capitalism is also applied to economics. Hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
But capitalism is applied to economics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Capitalism is the name. So capitalism is the name of the principle in economics. Does that make sense? Because
Right.
value, right, like a good friend, right? That's still on the basis of capitalism in my mind, right? It's the same principle. My friend provides me value. We have good conversation, and therefore I pay them back with my loyalty and my attention. You know?
Yeah.
So it's all principled on the same thing. No?
my thing is that like you've just created capitalism as this whole blanket thing, and also
It's an
capitalism does not need to be completely and utterly entirely abolished or whatever. Like, yeah, there's still going to have to be an exchanging of goods and whatever and blah 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 blah. It's the fact that we've made our entire economy based off of
Are
money
you a communist, or
instead
do
of-
you just really dislike capitalism?
I think he's upset at
I'm
the
a-
system.
I'm a communist because I believe that people should democratize the workplace.
But is that what
we had this
communists
discussion.
believe?
We had this discussion
And the
before
state.
on the very famous Max Daily show, and I believe that we basically came to the conclusion that you weren't for anarchism and communism to coexist is ridiculous.
The end goal of
Um,
communism is anarchism, dummy.
Well, not really. It's an
It really is, though.
Why?
Okay. Oh,
Okay, hold
because
on. Let him finish
Because
that. So
there's no
explain that.
government. We democratize the government. It
That's
isn't
not true.
representative
What- there's a
democracy.
central government
Can you
that-
point to a single example throughout history?
There's a central government that legislates democracy. Like democracy doesn't even work without a
It
government.
has to be mandated.
What are you
Who's gonna
voting
mandate
for?
it?
No, it's voting on policies, not people.
But that's still government.
You really need to
I'm
just
aware that there's like
accept
a
it.
mild amount of government.
But-
like people having a discussion and coming to a conclusion can be considered government. How they decide
No, it's actually a structured
what crops to
government.
grow.
Look at every single communist country that's ever existed.
Yeah.
Look at CCP right now, right? They just brought back communism, like legitimately. So there's a structure. Marx was the one who said that the government would have to be the ones to give the equity to people. So they believe in this overarching system of better moral people and a structure that will legislate and literally coerce utopia. It doesn't end in. It doesn't end.
What's wrong with utopia?
Nothing's wrong with utopia. It's unattainable from that aspect.
It's unobtainable, period, but we should still strive for it. to see
Agreed.
if it
And
is.
we're both trying to do that. But
Right.
what we're doing is
Anarcho Josh,
objectively
a sleeper
taking.
Christian?
No.
What we're doing is
based.
objectively, taking and looking at what has history taught us, right? And what have we seen, and what has come out of these different things. There's like control is the enemy, period.
Yeah.
So, and then when you say you democratize everything, what does that actually look like? Do we subset? Do we have subdivisions, political subdivisions, like we do with committees, and then we vote on things on a local, federal, or is it everything? Is everything federal?
Just
everything
local.
centralized?
No.
So
No.
communism is
Decentralization.
okay. So that is antithetical to communism
How so?
because communism is about a central
Okay.
government.
Well, I'm only mildly communist, but
Well, I think that this
You
is
really
like-
need to. I think that and I'm saying this out of interest for you. Like, I'm looking
What?
out for you here. You
What?
need to get rid of the whole communism thing because that's
No.
not what you believe.
Well, no, hold on. So
Like, just from a strategic standpoint, you have an uphill battle if you say that you're a communist and then espouse views that are antithetical to communism. Say you're a libertarian.
Or
No,
say I
no,
don't
are
know,
libertarian.
or say I don't know, and say I need to define it. Like, and you don't even have to be defined. The problem is the reason why I'm a conservative is because we're having a conversation about politics, right? But outside of that, I'm a man. I'm a God-fearing man. I'm a father. I'm a husband, and I just want to do things, right? But
right,
there
labels are dumb.
What?
I agree. Labels are dumb.
They are dumb.
Yeah.
They're absolutely dumb.
Sure.
And they're
Snowflakes.
Hegelian dialect. They create all these different
Yeah.
things so that they keep us divided. But I think the biggest point is like, if you truly understand, like your principles, man, I feel like everything you wrote, you said, degrowth, right? And things that stop killing you know what I'm into? Permaculture, right?
Yeah, permaculture's great.
Right? I
Yeah.
believe in that 100%. And I would love to see that take over. I also understand that the way that our farmers are hoodwinked into this, right? And this actually brings up a good point about incentivizing things. But, they're doing these liquid fertilizers, right? There's liquid nitrogen, all this other stuff. And it's depleting the soil.
Right.
Right? It's infecting
So
the
they can make
rivers.
money.
Well, not the farmers. It's actually they were hoodwinked into it the same way that Rockefeller hoodwinked the medical industry to go from naturopathy to allopathy, right? Petroleum-based medicines. It's because there was deception. And so this is the thing. I think what this points out more than anything else is that there's no possible way for democracy to actually work because people will always rise up with an agenda, right? And so that means that there will always be tyrants, which also means there will always be a necessity for true leaders. And true leaders serve.
just because there's tyrants doesn't mean that there's a necessity for true leaders.
Okay, but somebody is
Well, why
always going to
not?
rise to
Well, there's
fill
a
that
yin and a
power
yang.
vacuum, right?
Right.
You can't. A power vacuum cannot exist.
Right.
Fundamentally, that will never happen. So, would you rather have somebody who represents your interests and represents good fill that power vacuum, or somebody who is evil fill that power
Right.
vacuum?
It's the truth. Like, as
Because
much
there
as,
is no third answer.
right.
How is there not?
Because as much as I want us to just stop with, I hate this political stuff. I swear to God,
Oh, no,
it
it's
makes me
awful.
mad. I've never been called a liar to my face by telling the truth to people. I've never seen so much betrayal or anything. But this is what I know. If I decide to back out of this fight and go stay, I bought 4 little acres right in the middle of Weston, and the whole reason I bought it was because I wanted to do a homestead and permaculture and become independent, right? And I know that if I don't fight this fight, eventually legislation is going to come and they're going to take my rights to make my own food. They're going to take my rights
Right.
to have my own water.
Right.
So I have to do, so I don't have a choice. If I'm not involved, if I'm not engaged, I'm giving up my children's future, because it may take some time, but I'm giving up my baby's future. And I can't, and I'm very, visual, right? I try and imagine things because that's how I learn. And I imagine myself laying in my bed at a perfect utopian end, right? I mean, that's what I want. Laying in my bed, on my deathbed, coming to the end of myself. I was a healthy man. I'm just dying of old age, whatever the case may be. And around me, my children are there. And they're seeing, my grandchildren, they're seeing me off. And I know that when I leave, I did everything I could to give them the same opportunities that I had. Because if I don't, it's objectively true that these people are out here trying to destroy us on both sides. And I just happen to believe that the principles in the Republican Party are the easiest way.
I don't think they're trying to destroy us. I think they're just trying to maintain a status quo so they can keep living their opulent lives.
If that's true, why does the status quo keep changing?
Because people aren't happy with the status quo.
Well, what is
Then
the
it isn't the status quo.
Hold on,
Doesn't
though. Let's
matter
have a dialogue about what the status quo is. Sorry.
I was going to say, by your definition, it doesn't matter if people are unhappy with it, because the people in charge are the ones that control it.
Right. Wait, what's your point?
Well,
The people in charge
is
of the
that it
ones
doesn't
controlling.
matter.
They don't care. They don't care that we're unhappy. They just need to keep us happy with it enough so we don't revolt and overthrow them.
So
that's all they have to do.
So football, basketball, baseball, Hollywood, right? The way that we were educated. So what if I just
You want to put pornography on that list?
Oh God, it's the worst thing that's ever happened
We
to
live in a
mankind.
society.
So what if I was to offer to you? What if my argument is simply this? I think I really do. Everything that you said.
No, we have very similar end goals.
Yes, and all I'm saying is. All I'm saying is I think I found a mechanism that we could use to get to where we were trying to go. That's it.
And you think that mechanism is the Republican Party?
I think it's a party inside. Hold on.
No.
A party inside a. Well, okay. So the government apparatus is what we have to tame. That's it. So how do we do that? The Republican Party has infrastructure. The Republican Party has money. Listen, though, just hear me out. Has infrastructure, has money. Would it be wise for us to delve off to the side and try our own thing and then fight these two monoliths, right, on our own? Or would it make sense to find something that other individuals actually ascribe to the same things and those principles that will allow us to harness this party to then take the government the direction we want it to go?
You ever heard the saying, better one bird in the hand than
work.
2 in the bush?
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
that is fair.
Really what it comes down to is I don't think that's ever going to work.
Then that is fair, right? But this is the thing. With all respect, what is your approach?
Basically, ignore it. Build infrastructure that doesn't require...
With what money?
With what money? With time. With effort. And we're going to have to make money. Yeah, that's kind of a thing that we have to do, is we have to kind of make money because the system demands it.
What does that even mean? The system demands it. Money is a representation of value.
If I don't have money, I'm going to starve to death.
If you don't have food, you're going to starve to death.
Right.
What is the easiest way for you to get food? It's to trade value for somebody else's value. You don't want to toil in the field all day, do you? That doesn't look like it. You want to toil in the field.
Yeah.
You could go out and toil in the food right now. There's nothing to stop you from living out your communist utopia.
Yeah, I'm trying my best.
Then why are you even here?
Well, the thing.
What do you mean?
What do you mean? That's a very this makes our end goal. This makes our path. You're putting an obstacle in it. You have to be able to subdue emotions. You have to be able to subdue the desire of being right and changing approach or just being right and coming to a table and deciding how can we do these things together. If he believes that it won't work, then you know what? We're actually in agreement as far as everything except my way of approaching it. That's it. Right? So I should have no reason to yell at him and call him names, and he should have no reason to hate me or think I have anything out for him, because we just had a civil dialogue that said we're trying to get to the same place. The only difference is we think there's different ways of going about it. Right? So you, in my mind, are an ally. In fact, I think there's probably times down the road, culturally and in this world, that we will probably get together and do some good work, because there's work to be done.
Right.
We're in the political sphere, and personally, I see things that are very troubling, and I never been involved in politics until the past year, right? And I literally got shoved into it, and I feel, forgive me, I hope this doesn't sound
whatever
boastful, but I mean, I feel it's a calling. I feel it's a mission, right? Because I care about my children, but I also care about you, and I care about every one of these guys here and anybody listening. Because the thing is the enemy, and when I say the enemy, I truly mean like hell itself, right? But it always works through people. But the deception is we must be divided, right? And they pit us against each other in class warfare, emotional warfare, sex warfare, right? Race, whatever the case is, so that we don't come together, so that they can continue to do the things they're doing. But the problem is there is a mechanism that we are living in, and we can't get out of it. So, make hay, or that's not as a good of an analogy as when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade, right? Instead of just squirting it in your eye and throwing it on the ground. Because what's going to be productive? How are we going to get to our end goal? And I've seen, I guess this is the thing. I was to the point where I would have been a Bernie bro, swear to God, if I hadn't have had
the top 1% controls 90% of the wealth in this country.
Right, but then that's coming from the same guy who has multiple houses and has made money off of that speech for the entire time.
I know, it's hilarious that someone from the 1% is
talking about the 1%, right? So, but I've also seen, right, because I was so jaded about everything, but I've also seen through experience where we have wins, and then I start to realize this is, like, I think the difference is that I just realized that, oh my God, this is actually possible. It's going to take a shit ton of work, right? But I think it's absolutely possible because of the things I've witnessed, and what I would like to do is share that experience, because I can't show you, right? I can't tell you. You're going to have to experience it, but I want to share that experience with as many jaded, black-pilled people as possible, because if we can rally together under the principles and the framework that we've been given, we have the legal right to reclaim everything and to be free and to have small communities and to institute things like permaculture and have small, almost non-existent government. I mean, our founders said it was a necessary evil, and the least of it, the less of it, the better. But you know what the difference is between freedom and liberty, according to a quote from a founder? Liberty is freedom with just laws. That's what we want. We want liberty.
Yep, we're all after the same thing. We all want to have a little farm out in the corner of nowhere. And
yes. Oh, I am. That's what
everybody
I want.
leave us alone.
Yes, but the problem is they've decided no.
Oh, yeah, because I can't just have that.
Right.
Right, I have to work my ass off to maybe one day afford 10 acres or whatever.
Well, yeah, but here's you Anarcho Josh, you love to work.
Right.
No, I don't. I hate working.
But Anarcho Josh,
It's just
you hate
necessary.
doing
hasn't there been a time
hasn't
there been a time in America where that wasn't the case, where the amount of work that you had to do to get a piece of property wasn't? I think you feel that it's disproportionate, right? You're not getting your money's worth. Or do you think you should have to do exactly no work to have a
I think if someone doesn't want to work at all, they should still have the right to have a roof over their head and food in front of their face.
But why? Because it takes somebody to build it. And
why?
It takes somebody to build it. So you're saying
because all
you
life
have a right to
has
make somebody
value.
else do this. But you're literally saying,
why does life have
does
value?
it have value? But does it have value? Right? Because you're saying this person who doesn't work has the right to make you work. So now my free time and my energy and my treasure isn't worth the same as yours because you don't want to work? So now you have a right to dictate what I do. That's control.
Nah.
I mean, it is.
No.
I mean,
I'm not saying they deserve like a whole Xbox and opulence or anything.
It doesn't matter. You're still saying they deserve your labor. That's what you're saying. They deserve your labor. And you're literally saying I'm sick of laboring,
I don't mind
but you
giving up
deserve
my labor for other people to just survive.
That's charity. That's not communism, right? Communism is legislated equity, which is dangerous, and it's control. I believe in charity just like you do.
Then do that. What institutions have done the most charity work throughout history? The church. They have built
Yeah,
It is
that's
true.
that's just
100%
objectively
true.
All right, well, I'll look it up and I'll let you know
Just
if you're
believe
right
us.
or not.
Yeah, I mean, it is objectively true, even
Well,
though there's all kinds of.
I mean, it wouldn't
I'll
even
look
make
it up
sense
and I'll let
for
you
it
know.
not to be objectively true. The church,
Whatever.
whether you like it or not, has been the
No,
most
church-
powerful institution.
Yeah, it's
for,
definitely a powerful institution.
So wouldn't it
right?
make the most sense?
Did
that
you know
the
what's
most
something
powerful
funny?
Institution.
But you know something funny? To your point. So we want to really kind of flesh this out. Did you know the word religion means to bind up, to tie fast?
That's great.
But listen, you know who the Son sets free is free indeed? So religion in a relationship with Jesus don't reconcile, and you're absolutely right. It's a very powerful, monolithic institution that has controlled the minds of men. So I'm a God-fearing man. I read the Word and I serve the Lord, but I don't go to church. I don't go to these buildings. Now, that's not against anybody that does, but I'm not going to allow anybody to frame in my mind to what the Holy Spirit could lead me into as far as truth is concerned, right? So I read the Word because Jesus said that you need no man to teach you. You have the Holy Spirit and lead you in all truths. My point of that is there's another perfect example of something founded on principle that has been usurped by man. It doesn't mean that it's not fundamentally right or needed. That's my point.
Next week, we're going to have Deacon Josh versus
I wanna
MO
see
RINO
this.
Josh on
Yeah,
church.
I would really like to see that discussion, but I think it's perpendicular to the discussion we're having right now.
I think you're right. I just thought, you know what? Maybe we'll put that in there. I don't know. We'll have to check with.
If that's possible, I would love to see that.
I
many
would take
Joshes?
it. I would be happy to have that conversation.
We have
Can
way
we
too
get
many
all three
Joshes.
Joshes on at once?
If it were up to me, we would consolidate all of the Joshes into one
One Josh
monolithic
with like three
Josh.
heads.
Josh
Well, it's, you know, all three words, all three
Josh.
names is God, Yahweh is salvation. God is salvation.
That's great. I don't believe in God.
It's fine. He believes in you.
And I don't care.
Wait,
Kind of cringe.
I was
I don't
kind of
care.
I was
That's
kind of
fine.
behind on the switching with that. It'd make for a really good clip if we could just do that again, bro.
I love you.
No.
I love you, Josh. Anarcho Josh, I love you.
Yeah, I love you too.
See? It's there. I told y'all.
Yeah.
Actually, I
but-
didn't tell anybody here. I told somebody in the text.
I'm really interested to hear from both of you, and you know, maybe I've just been not paying attention enough, but I really would like to know what the precise ends are for both of you.
Well, so, I mean, he gave a list of all these different things of degrowth and small government. I mean, so...
Right, but why? Very centrally, why?
Because everyone has an inherent... We're made in the image... My stance, we're made in the image of God. Everybody has the right to equality. In other words, to be free to make their decisions as long as it doesn't step on the toes or hurt anybody else, infringe on anybody else's rights. And
when you say that people have the right to equality... what sort of, can you constrain that definition a
Yeah,
little bit?
so equality in this bill.
They
right?
should have the right to equality.
Yes. The equality in the Amendment 3, right? What equality would be is everybody gets that low licensing fee and there's an open market. Right? That's equality. Everybody has the opportunity and the right. Instead of charging, $10,000 or whatever for the comprehensive license and $1,500 for the people who are poor and can't afford it, why not just make it equal and let all the entry fees be super low and see what the value these people provide do? Right? That's equality. It's the same thing when you go to the courts. You have two areas of equality in the courts. You have opportunity, which means that you can take your issues to the courts, right, to be able to get a remedy, and then you also have the equality of being judged or due process. In other words, going through the same exact checks and balances to ensure that you are actually guilty if you are convicted, because that should have the highest standard should be no one innocent goes to prison. No one innocent gets their freedom taken away from us. That's the justice standard. Blind justice. There's nothing that weighs the scales. So in other words, whatever one gets, the other gets the same opportunity too. Anybody can go to school here. Anybody can work hard and get a good education. Anybody actually can. Granted, there are a lot of people who have made bad decisions, and those bad decisions have called other bad consequences. And like one of the easiest examples is a crack addict baby, right? That's not that baby's fault, but it is the mom's fault. So where do we separate fault, and then where do we try and intervene on freedom? It's a slippery slope. So if we're going to have equality, then what it looks like is as little government as possible with just laws. And that way the community is engaging each other. We are decentralized things like Walmart and Amazon and all this other stuff. And then people are buying local and supporting their own economies.
Walmart, man.
I know. It's hell.
I think we're definitely going to have to continue this conversation after stream. There's so much I want to get into. That said, I think Sam is going to... we're going to send it back to Sam for some Q&A.
Yes, that's right. We finally have our last deal. Do we have that Sharpie? Yes, we do. The magic marker. We're going to go ahead and cross that off. Communism, Josh v. Josh. That was excellent. We've got some call-ins. I think that there's 2 people who are caller. Go ahead and send in caller on line 23. It's hot tonight, folks. If you do, again, want to be a part of the call-in, jump onto samdailyshow.com and then scroll to the bottom, hit that blue button. I think it's blue. I've sent blue like 3 times, but I'm not entirely positive. Somebody's going to have to look into that for me. British Max, can you look into that for me?
The Discord is presumably purple.
Right.
That's the Discord logo.
No, but there's a button on the website where it's either.
Why wouldn't it be the same color as the Discord? It's
blue.
To
You're
join
insane.
the Discord
I'm gonna
thing.
prove this objectively.
Thank you, Owen. So if you do want to be a part of the call-ins, we do call-ins. Jump on Sam Daily Show, scroll at the bottom, click the button. Whatever color it is, just click it, and then you can join the Discord. Max is on the letting people in side of things. If you do join the first time, though, we do need to vet you a little bit just to make sure that you don't say, what was that word that you were talking about earlier?
An
Mo RINO
inward
Josh?
belly button, I think.
Yeah, that's right. So our first caller on line, what did I say, 23?
Yeah.
Go ahead and bring him in.
Okay. We're gonna bring in T-Lance.
Yep, that's fine. Bring him on in.
I love T-Lanes.
Okay.
You're just
Are you
gonna-
ping him and let him know he's on?
T-Lance.
No, just pull him in right now, and then he'll. I think he's listening to the show live right now, and he should be ready.
Just one
Call
real
ins,
quick,
he said, yeah,
viewers.
go ahead.
The color is called ultramarine blue, not ultramarine purple. So put
I'm
another
being-
dub on the board.
I'm being gaslit. This
It's
is fake.
objective.
I think that's dumb.
Yeah.
We should call all colors purple and all colors blue simultaneously.
No, I just want the button to be the Discord purple. Like what?
blue.
Fake. Anyway, can we get T-Lance on?
Yeah, we've got
You
him
guys are
here.
gonna
You're
love
telling me
T-Lance.
the
Alright.
Discord color is blue.
This
I put it into a
okay,
color
okay.
picker. It says ultramarine blue.
Okay.
T-Lance is the coolest person you're ever going to hear from. So
And this is actually interesting because this guy on caller number 23 is actually knows Anarcho Josh. Caller on line number 23. How you doing today?
Well, I'm doing well. I actually have to change my voice settings here so that way I can go to push.
No.
This should be much better.
I know who this is.
Now you can probably hear me better without any cancelization. But yeah, I had a few points I wanted to make with regards to both Mo RINO Josh, who I keep wanting to call moronic Josh. No offense to you, I like you as a guy.
No problem.
And also to my good anarcho brother, Anarcho Josh. You see, as Anarcho Jacob here, we agree on half the things, but disagree on the other half. So, first off, with Mo RINO Josh, why do you have such a slappable face? Like your cheeks are so tall, and my hand looks like it could just cusp it perfectly and just.
They talked about this for a good 8 minutes on the chat. I didn't want to say anything.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. It's because I'm half Persian and I'm a fucking.
Okay.
I'm a stud, man. Sorry.
Yeah, the Persian makes sense. Second point I would like to make to you is cops are evil.
Yep.
You said you wanted more law enforcement. Cops are evil.
Sir,
I never said I wanted law.
Yeah,
more law
who
enforcement.
said that?
Yeah, you did.
No, I
you were
didn't.
talking. We were talking. Yes, you did. We were talking about child's faces on milk cartons, and you said I want more cops.
no, you said that they wanted the cops to do their job.
Yeah, I said, yeah, thanks for
Also-
misinterpreting that. Well, now we know the
Yeah.
intellectual position you're coming
When did the Dark T-Lance arc start? I thought that you would
And,
like a gun-loving
It's
American.
ever since he moved to
lastly,
the southeast.
And lastly, the point that I'd actually like to make that's a very serious point to you is.
Sir, do you have a question, or are you just here to make points?
I do.
Are you
No.
grandstanding? Okay,
No.
could we go
This
ahead?
is a question.
Okay.
And this is
Go
very
ahead.
serious, and I'm going to make you very emotional when I say this, and I will offend you, and I apologize beforehand, but it's something that you need to consider.
Okay.
Why do you worship your government?
Okay, so why do I worship my government? Is that
Yes.
is that the reason why I want to revamp the entire thing?
No, everything that you've read regarding the Republican Party and everything, you are reading it as if it was scripture. You worship the flag. It is a cloth that you deem a living entity, as in the flag code. You believe that anything that you do with the government has a genuine effect, and that these people that are your saviors, your kings, will change your country for you. This is an issue.
Okay, so that's a fair statement.
I actually agree with that.
That's a fair statement, right? So, but everything, just understand that everything you said was subjective, right? You say I'm reading it like I'm reading scriptures. Do you know what it's like to read scriptures and believe in it?
I do.
Yeah.
I am a God-fearing Christian.
So
Christian.
I'm reading. So answer me this: is there something wrong with the principles I read?
I would say so.
Okay.
You are putting faith in your government.
No. That's not what I asked you. And now you're sidestepping the question. I said, is there anything wrong with the principles that I read?
Yes, the principles that you read are condoning the worship of the state.
Are they really? So let me read
Yes.
them again, just real quick, okay?
Okay.
Just because you obviously missed it, and I want to make sure you get it because I think it's important, right? So the number one purpose is to support the Constitution and laws of the United States of America and the Constitution and laws of the state of Missouri, to the end that government shall be truly and in fact a government of the people, by the people, for the people. So you objectively saying I'm worshiping the state, this principle literally says the opposite, that it's not a state, it's a people. And I'm
Which is of the
aligned
world.
with which is what?
Which is A, of the world, and B, who makes up the
A
government
of the
if not
world.
the people.
Do you know what Jesus said when he said he would found my church on this rock? Do you know what the church was? It was the ecclesia. And you know what that was? It was his governing body.
So do you worship the church?
Do I worship Jesus? I worship my creator, my king. And I do the things that his command said. And it said, occupy until I come. It says, get involved and change. Do you know what he said when he did that church? He said, set the captives free, right? And that the gates of hell shall not prevail against the church. The gates of hell guard hell, buddy. And if you're not kicking the gates in, you're not following the commandments of God. And according to the word, you will know the people who follow him by obeying his commandments.
Okay. So to argue that, I'm going to read some stuff I have written down.
Good.
First off is Christ is king and I have no kings but Christ.
Awesome.
Here's a quote from Frank Herbert. All governments suffer from a recurring problem. Power attracts pathological personalities. It is not that power corrupts, but that it is magnetic to the corruptible. Such people have a tendency to become drunk on violence, a condition to which they are quickly addicted.
Which is why we elected JJ.
Bishop Creighton had a counterpoint to that, which I believe both are true. He says, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Great men are almost always bad men, even when they exercise influence and not authority. Leo Tolstoy said, government is violence, Christianity is meekness, non-resistance, love. And therefore, government cannot be Christian. A man who wishes to be a Christian must not serve the government. Christianity in its true sense puts an end to the state.
Okay.
And
go ahead.
Here, I'm going to go on to the scripture here. Most people try to refute my arguments with Romans 13:1, which says, let every soul be subject to the governing authorities. For there is no authority except from God, and the authorities that exist are appointed by God.
Oh, I hate
My
that
argument to this is that not every government appointed by God, yes, all governments are appointed by God, not everyone appointed by God is to the benefit of the Christian people. For example, Pharaoh in Exodus 9:16.
Caller number 23, you're going to have to wrap this up here. We got another.
I really
coming
want to
a
hear
close.
this.
It's coming to a close. And Pharaoh was told by God in Exodus 9:16, but indeed for this purpose I have raised you up, that I may show my power in you, and that my name may be declared in all the earth. So anyone who would like to refute my point would also like to refute that the Hebrews should not have left Israel. Or not Israel, whoops.
Are you done?
Egypt.
Yeah.
Are you done?
In 1 Samuel 8:7, Samuel.
This is your last one. Come on.
No, I have two more.
Okay.
The Lord said to Samuel, heed the voice of the people in all that they say to you, for they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me, that I shall not reign over them. Daniel 2:47 says, the king answered Daniel
why
and
it's
said,
called
truly your
T-Lance.
God is the God of gods, the Lord of kings, and a revealer of revealer of secrets, since you could reveal this secret. And lastly, to Anarcho Josh, look into anarcho-syndicalism because this is more in line with your beliefs than actual anarcho-communism.
Whatever.
Okay. So
And
now-
why-
something else I forgot. Josh, what? Not Mo Rino, but Anarcho Josh.
What?
When we last had our discussion, I did look into it, and Abraham's wife was not his sister. He had lied to the king to tell him that it was his sister.
Didn't you already tell
that
me
way
this?
he could not get executed.
didn't we
when she
already-
was-
It's actually not true. That's
I
actually not true. He was actually his father's daughter, or his mother's daughter. She was actually
I'm
his sister.
remembering this
So,
plot line from
yeah.
my action Bible.
I'll have to look back into it because that was what I got out of it. Is that
Right.
it said
Well, read the rest of it.
Earlier in like chapter 19 or 18, God comes in and says, "Let me see your wife," and then he doesn't say your sister and wife. He says your wife, and then he goes to the king and he's like, "Hey, this is my sister. Please don't kill me."
Okay.
On the
And
topic
then-
of Bible misinterpretations, would
Hold
you
on.
like
So
to
I
provide
would
an answer?
really like to be able to to respond to your points because I think these are phenomenal points. I applaud you for having the nerve to have so much passion in what you say and so on. But I want to go ahead and respond. Is that
Okay,
cool?
you can go ahead and
Yeah.
respond, but
All the quotes. Okay, so all the quotes about power and corrupting, right? And that's the way it goes. And government is evil. So my response to that is, you're right. And what cleanses man? The Holy Spirit, right? The blood of Jesus, the Holy Spirit. He makes us
Absolutely.
new. Hold on, let me finish though. All right. So he makes us new. So wouldn't that be a better bet to have righteous men and women get involved in leadership and governing so that we can stem the tide? Or are you saying that God's Spirit isn't strong enough to conquer that area? Wait.
I'm
Okay.
saying-
No.
I'm
Hold
saying
on.
that all men.
No,
You
hold
just
on.
asked
Lance,
me a
you talked
question.
for 40 minutes.
Hold
Let
on,
him
bro.
get
Hold on,
one
bro.
word in.
And then when you were talking about government being evil, and then quoting Toy Story, Toy Story, which is a phenomenal author. But you should have quoted the scripture because Corinthians tells us what? Well, Corinthians tells us what love is, and one thing it does is it rejoices not in iniquity, but rejoices in truth. So we actually have an obligation in love to speak the truth, because if we don't speak the truth, people are deceived and they fall into a pit. We are the light of the
Hallelujah.
world. We are the light of the world. And we are supposed to put our light on a hill, right? And not hide it. Where's the best place to go? To get involved in the affairs of men, right? And so good exegesis actually looks at the whole of Scripture instead of just looking at one Scripture for interpretation. You have to know the character of God in totality to understand. And He is a God of justice, right? And He's also a God of mercy. And the only way that He could reconcile mercy, grace, and justice is by giving His own Son, right? And then for your statement about Samuel, you're right. They rejected him. And what did they ask for? They asked for a monarch. And guess what? What were they before that? They were tribes of judges. They were states. They were independently governed states who were together as the nation of Israel, but they were actually 11 different tribes working together because the Levites were spread out between them all. So you're right. We have finally come back to the place that God gave the Israelites from the beginning, which is freedom. And it's been codified. Those rights have actually been codified so that we can keep it. Instead of being in Rome when they used to turn us belly up and feed us to the lions, now God's given us the right to defend ourselves. And I think it is antithetical to Jesus' whole mission for you to say that we should be apathetic and stay out of the way. And to say
I'm
that
not saying we
something
should be apathetic.
say that something is too corrupt to get involved in is the complete opposite of the message of the gospel, because the gospel is it cures everything, and we should be fearless and set the captives free. So I respectfully disagree.
Can I actually? Well, I want to get to this next guest, so I'm gonna give you guys 30-second timers to
Yeah.
respond to my next question. But I think T-Lance, if I could clarify your position a little bit, are you saying that his first priority is the government rather than his first priority being God, and his allegiance to government being circumstantial to his allegiance to God?
It would seem so.
Okay, so that's a fair perspective for somebody that doesn't know somebody.
30 seconds.
Right? So actually the whole reason I got involved is because the Lord pointed me in my quiet time with my Savior. The Lord pointed me to a scripture that says, Ephesians 5:11, have no fellowship with the fruitless deeds done in darkness, but rather reprove them, aka expose them with indignance, right? And so I see what's going on, and I see the betrayal of our people, and the Lord's word and His guiding spirit has shown me that I need to get off the sidelines and get involved and do something that I don't enjoy. but I feel like I'm answering his call. And there's Isaiah 56 or 58, 6 through 12. It talks about the difference between what God really wants from people and what they're espousing to do. And he says, draw out your souls to the afflicted, bind up the wounds, bring in the lost into your home, and love them and take care of them. But then it also says that you and those with you will be repairers of the breach. You will raise up the foundations for many generations and restore the paths to walk in. So this is something that the Lord has called me personally, is what I think too. The reason why I'm so passionate about it is because the Holy Spirit and his calling in my life personally is the reason why I care so much and why I've poured my heart and soul into it, because I care about you.
Amen, brother. Thank you.
I'm going to kill you, Sam.
If I could get your contact information from Sam at the end of this, that would be great.
Yeah,
I would
absolutely.
like to keep in touch with you.
Absolutely, brother.
Well, MO RINO Josh, I don't know if you're a part of the Discord server, but you are surely invited, and you can get contact with a lot of these people who.
Yeah, it's a little blue app.
Purple. Yeah.
It's purple in my eyes.
You are all wrong.
There's this whole thing.
You reject.
See, this is why we don't let him make laws.
You reject objective truth.
This is why we don't let you make laws.
You shouldn't let me make laws because I respect objective truth.
Subjectivity to objectivity.
Gentlemen.
By who? Who called it that?
Gentlemen.
That's the way that it is.
Did God call it that?
It's the Discord.
No, because actually, the legitimate answer is that it falls under a specific range of colors that fall within a spectrum that your eye sees it blue, created by God.
Then why do I see it purple? Did God screw up with me?
No, you're just calling the thing that you see purple, or that you see blue, purple.
Actually,
So
it is-
just because you see it wrong.
Just because you see it wrong does not make it right.
Oh my God! And this is exactly why we need freedom with just laws, because you can't.
So you can be free
You
to
can't
be.
legislate morality.
be wrong, Sam.
I actually think that this is a fascinating philosophical conversation, but we have to take another caller.
That's right. Thank you, Owen. Thank you very much. Wait, Anarcho Josh, have the last word on that. What did you say?
No, it doesn't matter. It's cool.
I want to hear it.
Okay.
We'll discuss the color of Discord after the show.
Oh yeah, it's true. If that's where we were going, yes.
I legitimately think that could be a central, like a really important argument. But I think AA Ron wants in.
That's right. So okay, we got caller on.
Hey.
Was that? Okay, that's right. We've got caller on. I think it's line number 236,203.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
not the number that the
let's
Red
see here.
Cross
How you doing? How you doing, sir? What was your name?
Trevor. My name's Trevor.
Wow.
Is that Trevor Reloaded?
Is this the real Trevor?
No, this is the fake Trevor.
Oh man.
You're not my drug dealer, Trevor, are you?
Okay. So
Wow.
first thing, T-Lance is my gay lover. He's my soulmate. Yeah.
We could also.
Okay, so these questions for Anarcho Josh.
All
Rick,
right.
you ready for me?
Yep.
All right, and everyone else can feel free to chime in. I just have a question. So, how do you feel about state-mandated GFs? State-mandated GFs? Yeah.
No. Not great.
Wait,
Mandated girlfriends.
That's a terrible idea.
Please.
As much as we all would love that, it's a terrible idea.
I wouldn't love that. My girlfriend's really hot.
It's called human trafficking.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Sex trade.
I would say it's immoral.
That's what our government officials are doing behind the scenes, but that's not what we should be doing.
We can't say the truth on YouTube. So if you could just.
By doing that, I mean showing respect
Spaghetti-o.
to everybody.
He didn't actually mean. He meant in Minecraft.
In Minecraft.
Yeah.
IRL. Oh no.
So
No.
was there another question in there, or did you wait in the Discord channel for half an hour to ask that?
Next question?
All right.
I guess that's
all
that.
right. Thank you very much.
Giga
Caller
chat, Giga chat.
32,306.
Whatever.
All right, we have another caller on caller number.
Shout out to
2.
Ashlyn Zelensky for being our biggest fan.
Still.
So real quick. So
Thanks.
Ashlyn Selesky.
Zelensky.
Okay.
Zelensky, yeah.
In the chat. So she said, I know everyone commits sins and God sees them all as equal, but raping slaves, abandoning them, and sacrificing your wife seems like you should be disqualified as a chosen one. Who's he talking about? Abraham? Is she talking about Abraham?
Oh, I don't know.
I think so, yeah.
Please go read your Bible.
Please don't.
I mean, if you want to know the truth, right? No. This is the thing, right? If you want to know the truth, like if she's actually objectively wrong, what if her mind changed if she read it, and she was like, oh, it's wrong. And then it's like he didn't rape anybody or sacrifice his wife or any of those things that she just put in there. My whole
Didn't
point
Abraham
is,
almost kill his kid though?
yeah,
Almost.
very deep metaphysical kind of thing, and it ties all the way back into Baal and sacrifice and the trust of God compared to everything else on a promise.
Yeah. Religion, whatever.
Okay, all right, folks. We have caller number 2 calling in.
23, 254,654, and then 2.
Where's City 9? That's what I want to know.
Who we got?
Who's on?
Here we go.
line
Okay, so
City
caller
9?
number 2, how you doing? How you doing tonight?
Only number 2? We just went from 2,366.
That sounds like a familiar voice.
I know who this is.
Great.
Is it a familiar voice? It sure is.
Yeah,
Did you not announce me?
No, we don't know who
No,
it is
you're
until
just
you
caller
hop
number
into-
2.
Yeah, you're caller number 2. Caller number 2, what's your name?
I'm the classic trainer repair Aaron.
Transmission repair.
Transmission.
I love Transylvanian repair, Aaron.
Yeah, transmission repair. I tell you what, and of course, I gotta drop a fact in here. So while we're here,
Okay, we're done with
first
grandstanding, so you gotta ask a question. So you got like 10 seconds to lay it out. Go ahead.
What? I was gonna get my fact of the day.
Do it.
Oh yeah, that is right. Go ahead. What's your transmission fact of the day?
My transmission fact is the first year that cars had transmissions in them it was in 1966. Pretty crazy stuff, guys. Go ahead and verify that. Look up transition 1966. You'll know what I'm talking about. But so I have a pretty deep philosophical question, Anarcho Josh here. Also, Anarcho Josh, good to see you. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see you at White Boy Weekend this last weekend, but it's good to talk to you again.
Yeah.
Well, Vic was there, so it wasn't entirely white boy
It was a
weekend.
very diverse white boy weekend.
Yeah.
Incredibly
White
diverse.
Boy Weekend. So for Anarcho Josh, and think about this for a second. What is the main, unless you don't have to, what is the main core reason that you reject Christianity?
Because there's no evidence for God.
There's no evidence for God.
No actual concrete scientific evidence that God exists. No. And
Okay,
even if there was, that there's maybe some like, oh well, there actually is like some sort of like God out there. That doesn't mean Christianity's right.
It's true.
So then, have you heard the statistic about the speed of the expansion of the universe?
What about it? That like it's going faster.
That is expanding, meaning it has a.
No.
Oh.
Just have you ever heard that is the proof of God?
So what? The
'Cause I'll explain
universe is expanding.
Mass is being created somehow.
Here, there is a little bit of a disconnect. There is a little bit of a disconnect. Do you know how we run this? Is that you can barely hear him. He is responding to you, transmission repair Aaron. It's just he's across the room, and therefore.
I know. I hear everyone talking. I'm trying to let everyone talk.
But
so
he says he
Josh,
doesn't know. Go ahead.
He says no. Okay, so I don't remember the exact numbers, but essentially it's like if the universe expanded a billionth of 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 a light year faster, then all the planets would be ripped apart by the force of gravity, and everything would collapse in on itself. Or sorry, everything would be ripped apart, and everything would just be in atoms because gravity would be pushing out too fast for anything to coalesce. Because the force of the expansion of the universe would basically rip everything apart, right? But if it expanded a billionth of a billionth of a billionth, etc., slower, then the gravity inside the universe would be too strong than the gravitational force pulling on the outside, and everything would collapse in on itself. Now, this is assuming that the Big
hit you with a
Bang
nerd
is
emoji.
the inception of the universe. That theory is assuming. So that on a grand scale, and then on a completely minor scale, raccoons. Do you want me to explain further?
Yes.
Please.
No.
Yes.
So-
Existence is not evidence for God.
Yes. So obviously a huge
true.
on a cosmic scale, almost like an intentional calculation was made to figure out exactly how everything had to expand and how much mass had to exist.
It's almost like the
Okay.
universe is perfectly curated
Hold
for
on.
existence to happen.
Right.
That's
Right,
the point.
So yeah, but we exist here to talk about existence. Therefore, that doesn't mean that God exists. That just means existence is a thing.
Okay.
Well, I
So,
think the argument is that it so just like with your DNA, right? It's a code. We know it's a code because we're hacking it now with CRISPR, right? And therefore,
Right, okay.
Friendly ghost.
a code
But I can explain
has to
this. I can
have a
explain this so
coder,
much simpler.
right? A code has to have a coder. I think that's pretty.
I don't know anything about computers, so
Yeah.
Well, a code has
Okay.
a coder.
Okay.
Right.
That's
and if you have a
bold-faced lie, Owen.
DNA,
Tell the truth.
and it's your code,
Oh.
then someone had to code it.
Big brain.
Whatever.
Okay, caller number
So-
2.
No, we got to know
Yeah.
about the raccoons.
Okay.
Hang on,
Yeah.
I can explain. Let me explain the raccoon
raccoons,
thing.
raccoons.
I think I know where this is going, and I'm really excited for it.
I know where it's going, and I'm hating it.
I really doubt it.
The raccoon thing.
It's actually a Q&A. This is what this is.
Can you guys hear me?
This is schizo rap.
Yeah, we can hear you. Keep going. Keep going, Randy.
Okay, so the raccoon idea. So there was
Whoa, wow. It sounds like we just lost caller number 2.
Did you just disconnect him? You evil man.
Okay,
So to his point,
Oh, look,
Oh, is
sounds
he
like
back?
we have him back.
Oh,
We have him back.
marvelous.
Caller number 2.
yeah. So don't kick
Go
me
ahead.
out again.
Nobody kicked you out. It must have been something. I don't know what it was. But go ahead, and you've lost time because you lost connection. So let's
Hurry
get
up.
there.
Raccoons?
Okay.
What about them?
So raccoon theory, for the longest time, like little. Think about raccoons, right? Think about
Yes, sir.
the fur around their eyes, the pattern that's on their bodies, and how they like to steal things, right? They love shiny things. They love things that might have perceived value, and they take them. What was the first media depiction of a criminal? Black mask around the face, stripes down the body, and they would take things with their grimy little hands. So you literally have an adorable little thief that occurs completely naturally in nature, has adapted to human industrialization, and steals things. And criminals used to wear black masks around their eyes to hide their face, or at least in media depictions, with black and white stripes running down their body.
This is our A team.
What is your point?
But I'm saying the point is, I gave you proof on an extreme grand cosmic scale, and I gave you proof even on the most minor scale. Look up the over-evolution of the human eye.
He's saying it's funny. He's saying it's too funny to be a coincidence.
You know, what's interesting though is like I think one of the biggest problems when people are trying to factually prove the existence of a personal relationship, it just falls on deaf ears.
I think it's important to understand that Aaron is a goofy fellow. So
Yeah, no, I understand. But I, on that topic in and of itself, I've seen this dialogue happen so many times when there's all kinds of like factual evidence of things.
Sam, hit
and it
Q-Bob
doesn't
with the
matter.
call-in link.
It doesn't matter.
Say that again.
Hit Q-Bob with the call-in link.
I think that's Jim Eagle. He needs to join the Discord.
Oh, is it really?
I believe so. Worse than Jim Crow.
I'm currently running. You're gonna have to do that,
Cool.
intern Nick.
So
Wait, what was it? What, Whipping Boy Nick? Is that what it was?
It's one of the two.
Yeah, whipping boy.
Did we mention also that Owen? Do you want to take this over about what happens at 1,000 subscribers?
Yes. So, listen up close. If you're falling asleep, stop it. I have something very important to tell you. We are currently at 906 subscribers as of this stream. That's
Wow.
actually
Based.
incredible. If we hit 1,000 subscribers before I get deported to Pennsylvania, we will tase Samantha Daly in the anus live on stream.
Holy shit.
That's right. Sam Daly has committed to buying me, a cattle prod, and he has agreed to have me. Well, I don't think I need to explain the mechanics. Do a little anal tasing. I think everybody would like to see Samantha Daly get anal tased on live stream. So you should subscribe. You should definitely show the live stream if you want to see this. I've been advised not to use the word anal tasing. So one more before we move on. Anal tasing. Back to you, Sam.
Alternatively, you could go to Sam Daly's show, and then there's not just a Discord. But there's also a locals button. I'm not sure of it. You're some fact checkers, British fact checker.
Yeah. Why didn't you ask the guy
True.
that designed the website who's sitting to my left?
After extensive review, yeah.
There we go. Bloody marvellous. So on Aaron's point, because the initial point, not the one about the smoke.
Wait, did we lose him? Is he still here?
I hope not.
Anal tasing is
Okay.
one
I
word.
think he lost.
Do we have any more?
So,
do we have any
we-
more questions?
We just got 3 subscribers.
Oh, base. So something that I was going to say was that we see a lot. There's obvious parallel between nature and God. We see that everywhere. Of course, there's going to be. If you want evidence, literally just look at evolution, or the lack thereof. I think the issue is that you're never going to have an atheist concede and say, "Oh, well, actually, this is an act of God. They're never going to say, oh well, the coincidence is simply too strong on every scale, in every being, on every metric. They're instead just going to revert to kind of is it the Occam's razor of just, oh well, it must just not exist, and
It's
be
crazy
like the
as Occam's
coincidence.
razor is actually would lean to the most realistic thing.
You'd hope so.
It's in my opinion, it's if someone is not.
Josh, I know you're new to the show, but you need to move closer to the microphone.
If someone's not accepting or open, like so this is what the most interesting thing is about God, in my opinion, right? Free will, and what free will is. Seriously.
Oh boy,
Well,
we're getting started on the free will thing.
Well,
Let's go, dude.
Well, what free will is,
okay.
right, is freedom to do literally whatever you want to do. And so when it comes to Christianity, when it comes to belief, right, I have the freedom to do the things I want to do, right? If I want to jump off a bridge, I actually could, right? Like it doesn't stop me. But in order for God to keep free will free, right, then that's why there has to be this accepting Jesus into your heart, because that is the loophole to free will, right? That's why you surrender your life to the Lord, because that's the loophole to free will, right? You know the old adage that you have to invite a vampire in or they can't come across your threshold?
Yeah.
This just all ties back to the same kind of principles, right?
If God can see past, present, and future and knows every decision you make before even you make it, then how do you have free will?
Just because he knows it doesn't mean that you're not free to do it.
He knew before at the beginning of time.
So that doesn't mean you're not.
You are going to be created. He made it specifically that you were going to make these decisions.
But that doesn't have any control over.
How is that free will?
Because he didn't designate it.
Okay.
No, he didn't designate it. He knows it. It's completely different than designating it.
How does he not designate it?
Because he decided not to. That was what free will was.
No,
just because you can look above and see the entire chessboard and know every move that's going to be made doesn't mean you're controlling the moves. You just know how to counter them. You just know how to do what needs to be done.
No, you don't do anything.
I'm now really looking forward to the
entire
Josh,
universe.
MO RINO Josh debate around free will next week. That sounds like it'll be very good. Back to your previous.
Go ahead.
I've just got one more bit. Back to your previous on the people not wanting to accept this evidence. We saw a very good example. I think around a decade ago, there was a Cambridge student who. So Cambridge is very, very distinguished, one of the best, possibly the best university in the UK. Wrote his master's on Jesus' life, death and resurrection specifically. And at the end of the thesis, he basically just said that it was impossible that Jesus rose again, and in fact he must have had an identical brother who took his place on the third day.
Rationalizing,
which is just the most insane take.
A Jesus impersonator.
Well, it's rationalizing something that you don't want to admit, right? That's all you can do, because this is the thing. So when the devil goes away, you ever heard that statement? The biggest trick the devil ever played on the world was making them think he didn't exist. So do you know why? Because when the devil's gone, then God becomes a taskmaster, right? And then all of his rules are just rules. You can't have sex because I said so. You can't do X because I said so, right? Well, but then when you admit that the devil exists and you see the evil, then you have a natural understanding that that means God is real. And then you have this contemplation that happens that you have to deal with. It says, well, I'm seeing evil, and if I know evil is real, then that means God is real, because there's a yin and yang, there's a cause and effect for everything in that sense. Now I have to choose a side, because there's sides. And based on that, I think everyone would normally choose God if they saw it from a non-religiously drenched perspective, in the sense of light and dark, right? And so the devil goes in hiding. God is just a taskmaster because his people don't go away, and then of course it's been manipulated so much. But then when people start seeing the truth, then they have to reckon with it. That's why it's easier for this individual who's super intelligent and overeducated, right, to come to the conclusion that it had to be his twin, because if not, his whole worldview comes into question, and he has to deal with a lot deeper issues than normal.
This is colloquially referred to as a cope. I would even go so far as to say the publication of the paper qualifies as molding.
Seething even. I'm going to make one last shameless plug to a book that I recommended yesterday, Where the Conflict Really Lies, by Alvin Plantinga. It's about naturalism, science, and religion, and how they intertwine. Incredibly interesting book. I'd recommend checking it out.
Solid.
Sam.
All right, folks, we got to wrap this thing up really quick here. But first, we got a caller who's supposed to be calling in here. It's an exclusive call from a guy named Fred, who's based out of Kearney.
Now, did you say based?
Yeah.
Based?
Is it really though?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Here it comes, folks. Here we go. We have him here. Fred, you're going to have to be patient with us. We are working on getting you. Nope, you're going to put that on the aux cord, and then it's going to go on the phone. Josh has got to get out of here soon. Josh, do you have one more, just for one more question here?
Yeah, as long as it doesn't go the way of.
I think this is a serious question.
Yeah, I think so.
As long as it's a question.
Hello.
Yes. This
Yeah.
is the Sam Daly Show.
Yeah, this is the Sam Daly Show. Who do we have on air?
This is Fred here.
Hey Fred, how you doing?
Man, I tell you what, doing great. I don't know how you guys are doing.
Well, we're living.
I've had a great night.
Thoroughly
Great.
Over.
But, hey, long-time listener, first-time caller. Love the show, guys.
Appreciate you here. Go ahead and ask your question, Fred.
Less over.
Okay.
So, I want you to know your guys' thoughts on Amendment 3. I see that we had the legalization of recreational marijuana. As a cultivator myself, I don't know. What do you guys think about it? I heard there can be some negativity there.
So you're a self-admitted weed eater then?
Weed eater. Okay, so I would love to give you a perspective real quick. So I'm pro cannabis. I believe that these type of things shouldn't be illegal anyways. But Amendment 3 has, again, what we talked about before, a lot of underhanded stuff in it. Now, it's really hard for us to contemplate what it could have been like because we've always been handed garbage. But there was actually legislation in the House that got lobbied against called the Cannabis Freedom Act. And believe it or not, it came from a conservative named Ron Hicks. And what it had outlined was incredible. It would have gotten rid of all kinds of penalties because the one now it's a grandstand and you have to actually petition to get rid of your crimes and different things like that. So it's garbage. But it would have allowed every adult to freely grow up to 12 plants, and the cultivation license would have been as easy to get as it would have been to get a liquor license. And on top of it, the people who were growing their own weed, right, in their own homes or however, could contract with cultivators and sell them theirs. It was a true free market opportunity. And so as far as the perspective of Amendment 3 compared to anything else that could have been, we had such great legislation that would have made it truly free and equality-based instead of equity-based. And now, yeah, we have free weed, but we locked it into a lottery monopolistic system that also gives them precedence to do even more tyrannical overreach. So that's really my take. It has nothing to do with the weed itself. There was a better alternative, and they used it as a Trojan horse.
All right, I think that I'm getting a lot of charades from Sam Daly right now. I'm not sure what he's telling me.
Was that the bird?
Is that
he
Chinese?
Just give you the bird?
You're speaking Chinese with your hands.
Well, yeah, basically what I was trying to say is this here Fred guy sounds like he's absolutely toasted right now. He's coming through my ears. You guys couldn't hear him the whole entire time. He's coughing up lung. There's something going on with him.
Take smaller
I'm
Average weed
extremely
eater.
surprised.
Average weed eater.
Well, you know what? And Fred, I tell you what. Can you guys hear me there? Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so do we look at it as a win? I know from another grower like me, we can still have our license and everything. If we wanted to main scale it, yeah, it would. Now it's looking like it's going to be a monopoly. It's not good for us, but maybe those laws.
It's not only a monopoly, man. It's a lottery, so they won't offer any more licenses. That's the thing. You either get in or you don't. And then after license opened up, then it's another lottery again, and you're most likely not going to get it because corruption is involved.
I guess it depends if you're looking to make a career out of it and do it yourself and really start a business, which would be awesome. It's been a dream of mine.
Hey, dog.
Or are you just happy for the legalization that you can just walk down the street? Or I guess it kind of.
But you can't because it has. Well, that's the thing. It adds new penal codes and everything else. So I think it's a loss because we had a better option, and you guys are ridiculous. We had a better option and we didn't get it, and now what we have is really a crony system. This was crazy. If you come from across the line from another state that's legal with weed, it's legal in their state and it's legal in yours, they put in the amendment that you'll get in trouble for that. Like that's something that's going to be prosecuted, right? None of this stuff actually made any sense, and it was really just a play on a burgeoning market to be able to fund a specific agenda.
We have a weed-related weed-related question in the chat. Jonathan Vitelli wants to know how much smoke could smoke if smoke could smoke.
As much as smoke could smoke if smoke could would smoke.
No, I don't smoke.
Okay, then you.
But I appreciate the interest.
Okay, all right, that is awesome. Go ahead, Anarcho Josh.
I'm just saying, government bad. They did shady things with the Amendment 3 or whatever the hell. But you could just have more than 12 plants illegally and then sell it in the black market like in the good old days, like we usually do anyway.
Well, yeah, and then they could take your for me, if I did it, they could take my property. They could take my kids. Literally, take my property, take my kids.
I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with FPS Russia. Who's he was the gun YouTuber back in the day. They caught him with a little bit of weed, and so they took several $100,000 worth of firearms that he'd accrued over the years, and now he's prohibited from owning them
because
indefinitely.
They use that mechanism. Once again, it's never really about what they're talking about.
To be fair, FPS Russia was kind of retarded.
Well, I saw a weed documentary way back in the day called Totally Baked. And it talks about, it has this one skit about how politicians are always lying. Oh, yeah. And the skit was basically like, yes, we're doing the Milk for Cute Babies and Kittens Act, right? And in reality, the underlying language was stealing your lunch money. Because that is, in and of itself, the truth of what they do on a regular basis. Thus, my whole point of saying I think we need to get politically involved, because if not, no one's going to stop them from continually doing the things they're doing. And they show themselves to be greedy, power hungry, and, dare I say, maniacal. And therefore, our only choice is to fight back or surrender.
Get your community to be self-sustainable.
Agreed.
So when the government does eventually collapse, because people are going to overthrow it at some point, because that's just the nature of how things go, you guys will be way better off. It's just about damage reduction management.
And substance abuse.
And do drugs. Sorry.
Somebody says in the chat.
Lift weights and read the Bible.
Fuck that. Way.
Why does it always have to be carved out and defined in a specific way? Like, why couldn't these people just read the Bible and let the Lord tell them the rest of the stuff to do? Why do we have to ascribe to them what they should do? It's one of the reasons I don't go into the
God gave us
anymore.
bodies. God gave us bodies. We're made in
Fred's
God's
getting
image.
out of here,
It's very
boys.
All
important
right,
to
thank you. Hey, Mr.
What?
Fred, we appreciate the call in. Hey, Fred, be sure to call in another time. We listen.
Yeah, like I said, guys, I had the edible, and I'm got a lot of food I'm waiting on, so I'm gonna get back to that. Keep smoking, people. Let's get it.
Yeah, dog.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for calling in. Okay,
I liked Fred.
Folks, we gotta. I'm sure you did. Okay, all right. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate you tuning in. Anarcho Josh, did you get the Twitter that I asked you to get?
I have had a Twitter. Did I change it to Anarcho Josh? No, but I definitely have a Twitter somewhere out there.
Okay, well,
People are asking if Anarcho Josh is a charade or if you're actually this man.
Okay, we're not gonna. No, stop. We're not gonna do any more questions from the comment. Listen, folks,
Is this the real life?
I need a cigarette.
Is it just
to quote our
fantasy?
Okay.
Is it even possible to believe this?
Okay. Listen, folks, I also want to swing it over to Josh real quick, is that I know he does have Facebook page. He does have YouTube page. Where can we find you, Mo RINO Josh, to get a hold of you or to maybe see some content of your own?
Yeah, so Rumble channel, Mo RINO Watch. You can go there and find our content, but the best way is morinowatch.com. That's MORINOWATCH.com. Sign up for our email alerts, because every time I put out content, I put out a correlating article so that you can either read it or watch it. And then if you go to Facebook, same thing, Missouri RINO Watch. And that's pretty much it. But well, we have a Telegram channel too. Go to the website and it'll show you everywhere that you can find us. But the goal, if you want to get involved and actually do something, and I mean, this ranges from like Project Veritas type of, undercover work, to researching, to calling people out, to shaming the liars and all the other fun stuff. That's the kind of stuff that I'm interested in. That's kind of my lane, because I think accountability is the underpinning. So if you want to get involved, all my contact information is on the website.
Right on. Again, I appreciate you coming in. Any last words, British Max?
Well, other than lift weights and read the Bible, preferably read the Bible then lift weights. If we're going to get nitpicky, no.
Multitask, audiobook.
Based.
Okay, and then any last words from you, Smoke, from the Smoke Daily Show?
No, not if you want this podcast to end.
Touche.
Okay, all right. And don't forget, jump to samdailyshow.com and be a part of it. We've got the Discord link. What color is it, boys?
Purple.
Blue.
Purple.
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 Awesome.
It is blue.
I am purple dabba dee dabba da.
And we're going to go ahead and close out with a song. What is the song?
Ooh. Well, we went real Slim Shady yesterday.
Okay, awesome.
Let's go
ahead, hit
Mr.
it, hit it.
Sandman.
Yeah.
Mr. Sandman, give me vaccines. Help all the people who have been quarantined. We'll wear our masks. We'll keep our distance. Are we done?
I think we're done.
Marvelous.
We better be. Because I've run out of lyrics, I know.
Say.
We're actually not cut yet. Now we're cut.
Oh, boy.